understanding. We're on a mission from God.
Here we go. Yeah, every so often I've got to do this show. I apologize. I've done this show before. It seems like every now and then I've got to do some remedial revisioning. You know, I did write a very extensive book about all of this. Hope you guys have your books out. That's the textbook for today, is The Rational Male Religion. Going to get into that a little bit today because everybody's coming out of the woodwork at us, and I don't know why. But I am back in beautiful Las Vegas for The Rational Male, and I have Commander Kyle in the producer's chair over there. Yep, all right, here we go. Oh, wait a minute.
She's not a Christian.
The reason why men act needy is because they've been programmed to reject femininity from such a young age. Stay with me. So I'm Jamie Date. I'm a dating coach for men. Okay, so as little boys, what were you taught about girls, right? Girly traits are bad. If you were kind and soft, then crying was just for girls, and losing to a girl, embarrassing. I mean, the only value girls had in a boy's life didn't hit until puberty, when sexual experiences
when they notice their tits growing
became a form of social currency among other boys. I mean, a girl's value wasn't really her herself. It was what she could do for you in the eyes of your male peers. And at that age, that's programming.
All right. So I have to stop it here because this is like everything I've watched. Like, so somebody sent me this chick and like, they said, hey, check these out. You should respond to one of these things here. And yeah, female dating coach. Okay. Yeah. We already know what the rule is for that, but you'll notice that everything that comes out of this chick's mouth is social constructionism.
Program belief. And unless that programming is recognized and questioned, that's going to stick. So now we have men that have never questioned that programming. They reject feminine traits, the softness, the emotional openness, the nurturing side.
You know, the possibility exists that our brains are actually biologically different there, Pookie. So perhaps men and women process emotions, I don't know, differently.
Only ever feeling safe to be this way around women, making it so that when these boys grew up, they solely relied on women for all of their emotional needs. And if you're only relying on 50% of the population,
you have to understand too that she's like, I don't think enough people really realize this. Like when women pop off about like men's needing emotional, like, or that they lack emotional intelligence, emotions this, emotions that, it's all expressed from the presumption, like it's unspoken, the unspoken presumption that men are basically women. Like they have the same needs as women do.
To get your emotional needs met, I mean, baby, that's a failing grade. So what's the fix? Men need to deepen their relationships with other men, like outside of football. If men recognized and valued feminine traits within themselves and their male peers, they wouldn't need to rely on women for all their emotional needs, thus making them not needy and therefore attract more women. Because it's my belief that male friendships will actually be the thing to save modern dating and men in general.
Wow. Like, I don't know how much more wrong she could possibly be. Yes.
All right. So let's see if we can get some clarification about the earth being flat. Because if I'm being honest, I was never a flat earther. So that surprised me. So let's see if this gentleman is right. Okay. By the earth being flat, does that mean that it's on a linear plane of energy? Yes, thank you. Okay, so the earth being on a linear plane of energy means that describing it as flat is a true statement.
Hey, y'all.
Yes, thank you. Okay, so is the actual shape of the planet, is it flat? Is it a circle that is flat?
I'm totally using this on Access Vegas this week just to piss off Mike.
No, thank you. Okay, is it a round sphere? A sphere. Yes, thank you. Okay, that sits so much better with me. Like, that makes so much more sense because it never made sense to me. Like, why would it be a big circle in the sky that was flat? Like, it just made more sense to me that it was round. Okay, so the earth is on a linear plane of energy. Yes, which makes it flat. Yes. So technically, the statement that the earth is flat is true. Yes, thank you. And the statement that the earth is round is also true. Yes, thank you. And the statement that the earth is a sphere is also true. Yes, thank you. I don't know what else to ask about that. I mean, that clears it up for me. Does that not clear it up for anybody else?
Are we all straight with us now? Are we all good?
I feel like I just took a bath in battery acid.
All right, I know I showed this one last week, but it's important to do it this week.
On him for 3 years with his best friend. We had 2 kids, 3 and 6 years old. And he could have walked away, should have walked away, could have. And when all this came out, and I hid it for 3 years in the church, when all of this came out, he looked at me and listen, a good therapist knows your feelings are valid and you can feel all of those things. He was mad. He was hurt. He was confused. He was disoriented. All those things were still true. None of that was underscored or not a part of his experience. But what was also a part of his experience, because he had been submitting and surrendering to the Lord so faithfully for so long, was he literally looked at me, and all I expected him to do was exactly what every man had done in my life, my dad, all these other men, was to leave. And instead, he looked at me and he said, Casey, I don't know how to not love you. That is when Jesus became my Lord. That is when I got grace for the first time in my life. I realized that is what Jesus had been saying to me all along. You don't understand, girl. You can run from me. You can hide from me. You can be mad at me. You can do all these things. And the reality is, I don't know how to not love you.
Higher body counts are more likely to cheat. Men with higher body counts are more likely to get divorced. Men with higher body counts are less likely to be satisfied in their marriages. Though that's the suite of results that we're seeing in these studies. It's also showing
Men with higher body counts also are among the 4.5% of guys who can have higher body counts.
But conveniently, these kind of red pill freaks are like, oh, you know, it's women, women, women.
Speaking of red pill
for this logic, if body count shouldn't matter and you are more secure in your masculinity because you're Jack Murphy and you found strength in allowing your girlfriend or your wife to get on Tinder and go fuck some strange, and you feel like you're more of a man for doing that. Let's just say you're right. I don't think you are, but let's just say you are. Now then, if sexuality is intrinsic to someone's identity, right? We always say, well, I'm a Pontiac Trans Am. I am homosexual. I am heterosexual. I am cis this. I am whatever it is, right? If your sexuality is intrinsic to your identity, then why wouldn't body count, which is part of your sexuality, also be intrinsic to your personality? Why would that be? We can separate the fact that your sexuality is part of your personality, but we're going to try to separate the fact that you have 300 body ladies, anyways, maybe guys too. Your body count is part of your sexuality, which is intrinsic to your personality. Except for when women don't want you to ask about it. Except when it's something that is whether you're secure or not. When it's a criteria for security in your masculinity, then it goes out the fucking window. Then we don't want to talk about it anymore. No, your body count is part of your sexuality. And if you're going to say that your sexuality is part of your personality or intrinsic to your ego or whatever, because if you're going to say you're this particular gender or you're this particular whatever you want to, whatever diagnosis you want to give yourself, if that's part of who you are, then you're goddamn right that your body count, you're goddamn right that your body count matters. Even men too. At least in this context, I would say the same thing. If you say allowing your girlfriend or your wife,
one of those red pill freaks talking about body count again from only a female's perspective,
who are high on the dark triad traits: narcissism, psychopathy, and Machiavellianism. get on the apps, they accrue a lot of matches. They're usually very good at first impressions. I mean, this is sort of consistent finding in psychology research, is that men who are high on the dark triad tend to make very good first impressions, but then gradually they tend to burn bridges very quickly, and people sort of learn who they really are. They sort of identify that, oh, this very sort of glib and charming person is actually untrustworthy.
Not the girls for the Tinder swindler. So it seems to me he's still going hard.
So they have to move on very quickly. But at least at first sight, they're very attractive to women, and maybe tell them lies or tell them they want a relationship. They sleep with some women and then just ghost them or never talk to them again. And this is costless because, you know, they don't have the same friends in common, so it wouldn't matter.
Yep, it wouldn't matter. All right, put me back in. Thank you. Welcome. Try to keep this a little bit on the upside. People keep saying, "Oh man, I don't know if I like all these videos in the beginning," and then I have other people who tell me like they really like the videos. So I don't know. It's like I can fit. We're already like 12 minutes into the show. I can fit like 10 videos into the open. Like I got room for 10. That's what StreamYard gives you. They give you a limit of 10. And what you do with that 10 is up to you, I guess. But anyways, hello. Welcome back to Las Vegas, Nevada. I'm back here in Red One Studios. I got Kyle, the producer, over here. Ooh, yeah, man. And we did well on our crypto last night, didn't we? I'm not saying I ain't saying shit. Yeah, we did pretty good. Yeah, people like the videos. I'm glad you guys do too. Today I'm going to get into something I don't usually get into. But I feel kind of like I have to. There's a couple of videos I kind of want to riff on a little bit today. And they're both in the same vein. And the reason why I'm getting on them right now is because I'm noticing this sort of, I don't know, ramp up, come up on amongst sort of like more, I don't want to call it white pill, because white pill's like, that's so 2019. It's Christ pill, ortho bros, Christ bros. I don't even know where to go with it, but it's interesting to me, and I've seen this. One of the reasons I wrote my fourth book, Religion, and took 3 years of my life to do it, and actually quit drinking in the process of it, as you guys know from last week's show. I did that as I don't think people really realize the impetus behind my fourth book. I did that because I had Pat Campbell actually encourage me to do it. He says, you really need to write a book on like religion and how it sort of intersects with the red pill. And I had thought about it for a while, and I really resisted the idea of doing anything like super religious. But once my good friend Dalrock, 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 who was a very prominent blogger in the blog years, really from 2009 all the way up until he quit blogging, which was in February 2020. And Dalrock was probably one of the best at sort of dovetailing the red pill into religion. And I don't mean just like, there's a lot of guys who were just simply like, basically evangelical Christians were his forte, I think. But then we had a lot of Catholics that were a part of that. There's a lot of other sort of Christian franchises that were taking a lot of time to really do some comments. And I was going to say is like Dalrock had a really good way of meshing, I think, the red pill concepts that I would talk about. And he was a very good friend of mine. Now, I never met him in person. He was a good dude. Talked to him several times, via, email. We've had a lot of personal exchanges and stuff like that, but he quit blogging and just basically fell off the planet in 2020. His website or his WordPress blog is no longer available. But I don't know. I would like to think I was at least somewhat instrumental in convincing him to keep his WordPress site going for as long as he did, just sort of as an archive. Now, I know that somebody took it upon themselves to archive his work, and I'm not sure where that link is. Maybe Sam Bada knows where it's at. But the conversations we had, like one of the things I thought about doing in the very beginning of the Rational Male, when I first started the blog,
was I was actually considering doing a special section, or I was considering doing something that had to do with like the religious aspects of the red pill, because as far back as me being like a mod on the SoSwab forums back in the forum days, which was like the early 2000s, there was always a religious forum. There was always some sort of like, you couldn't really talk about religion in the general conversation, but like if you could find some way to sort of like make the red pill and religion sort of that part of the conversation, then that was okay. If you're just going to shit on people's religion, then they would just ban you for something like that. If you just wanted to talk about politics, like people say, oh, I'm a liberal, I'm a conservative. If all you wanted to do was talk about politics, they would just ban you off there. But if you were talking about how sort of liberal ideals mean something in the red pill sense, or conservative ideals mean something in a red pill sense, that was fair game. And that's kind of like how I have sort of approached those topics from my work as it is. So like when people say, well, Rollo, why don't you pivot to politics or social issues or the culture war and all this? I mean, first of all, it would be ludicrous for me to do something like that. But the second thing is, like, I have always been of the opinion that I don't talk about religion just in and of itself. And I don't talk about politics, and I don't talk about social mores, whatever. I don't talk about ethno-nationalism. I don't talk about race. I don't get into any of that kind of stuff just in and of itself. Now, if you're going to talk to me about like how, I've written several articles about how Trump won the election versus Hillary Clinton. Well, isn't that politics? Yes, but it's also red pill topics that intermesh with politics. So if I'm talking about abortion, if I'm talking about the Black Manosphere, for example, like back in 2021, when we started seeing sort of this rise of brothers getting into the Manosphere, right? And we saw like Kevin Samuels, right? Fresh and Fit. That was part of the Black Manosphere, part of Black Twitter. I think this was part of it as well. I'm very much still very good friends with Hotep Jesus, right? But they go, well, why isn't that about race? Like, well, yeah, it is, but it's also about the Manosphere. It's also about the red pill. So if there's crossover, then thank you for that, Sam. There it is right there. That's the archive for Dalrock. The reason why I think Dalrock is very instrumental in the red pill is he did religion better than I could do it. And I'm not ashamed to say that, like, he would have definitely outwritten me in that class. He's never put out a book, thank God. I'm the only one to my knowledge who's ever done a red pill book that focuses primarily on religion. No one else does, by the way. No one else has a book called Religion. No one else has some sort of confluence between religion that in any ways that is at least a fair assessment of red pill concepts, the Manosphere, all this other stuff, and how it sort of pairs up with religion. And I don't just mean Christianity, okay? I spent a good 3.5 years of my life doing the research, doing the interviews, talking to people that I knew from the Manosphere who were of various religions, whether that was, Christianity, or was, whatever franchise that is, right? I was talking to Catholics, I was talking to Orthodox guys, I was talking to evangelical Christians, I was talking to Mormons, I was talking to you name it. I probably talked to them when it comes to Christianity. I still talk to Rabbi Kaba, who occasionally emails me. He was my Ask a Jew. So whenever I wanted to know about I did not know this. Orthodox Jews can't touch their wives when it's Shark Week.
Huh.
Yeah, they're like, biblically they cannot get after it when the blood is flowing, right? And maybe that's a good thing. I don't know. But see, things like that, like I didn't know that, so I would have to like talk to. He's an Orthodox rabbi, right? So I would talk to him. He would tell me about this kind of stuff, and then so I would make like, why would that be? Why would there be a ritual? Why would that be sort of a doctrine for them? From a red pill, like an evolutionary psychology perspective, right? How would that have come to pass, right? Or if I'm talking to Abu American, right? He was my Ask a Muslim, and at the time, I think he had, dude, no one cares about you, dipshit.
Oh, look, somebody figured out that my name is really George. Sorry, we have to stop the show. I got found out. Bye, guys. I'm gonna go and delete all of my my books off of Amazon. That's not my real name. I actually pulled that from let's see, what was it? LA Confidential. Yes, congratulations, you found me out. Fuck you. Like, I love it. I love it when people say that. I love that. It's on every fucking show. Everybody has to say that. Everyone has to say that. All right. Guess what? Fresh, not his real name. Myron, not his real name. Ryan Stone, that's not even Ryan Stone's real name. Aaron Clary is the only person I know who uses his real name. And he's the one that gets the most shit. Congratulations, my friends. Yeah. You win. I lose. I'm going away now. Yes, you've scared me off. Oh my God, I've been doxxed. Jesus, these people. Yeah. Yes. I love it when people are like, wow, why is he still using an alias? Because it's on all my books, and it's too late now. Why can't I use an alias? That's the real thing. Is like, at what point do you go, I know how I'm going to get this guy. I'm going to reveal his real name. Gene Simmons, not his real name. Paul Stanley, not his. Ace Frehley, not his real name either. Yeah. Welcome. Fucking, there's a genius in every single one of these. So yeah. So anyways, just get back to the point here is I took 3 years out of my life to do the book on religion. Talk to a lot of different people. I tell you, who impressed me? Sikhs. Yes. Huh. I was thinking about that because I remember when Andrew Tate decided that he wanted to be a Muslim before he didn't. And I'm like, oh great, what's left for me to how do I pivot out of this? Because he had Roosh had already he had already converted to Orthodox, Eastern Orthodox Christianity or something. He was out of thing. And Andrew Tate got Islam, and geez, I gotta be a Jew. Either I'm a Jew or I'll be a Sikh. That sounds good. I'm gonna be a Sikh. I'm gonna wear a turban and grow my beard out, man. That'd be awesome. I would
legally carry a weapon everywhere. I
would do it, man. I think Sikhs got it going on, man. Yeah, it's funny. But no, I took a lot of time to do this. It is probably my most sources cited book that I've ever done. People kept saying, well, your first book, there's no sources in there. Where's your proof? Blah, blah, blah. I'm like, okay, fine. I go and I do all this. I take 3 years of my life to do this. So the point is this is the reason why I want you guys to sort of understand my thinking here before I get into some of these videos and what I've been talking about is it's when I had Pat Campbell asked me to do the book on religion. Now Pat Campbell was most definitely Irish and Catholic Irish. And later on, right before he died, he converted to evangelical Christianity, thanks to Dr. What's his name? I forget his name. Everett Piper. But he was very curious about. We would get into conversations about this all the time. We'd talk about religion and the red pill and how things sort of gel. And I occasionally get into it with some guys who think that I am in some way shitting on their religion, especially if we're talking about one of the iron rules. If we're talking about iron rule number 3, right? Which is, anytime a woman makes you wait for sex, the sex is never worth the wait. Now, does that mean that I am advocating that you should go fuck anything on 2 legs? Does that mean I am advocating go have sex with as many? Your notch count is your goal, is your scorecard. No, I'm not actually, and I've explained this so many goddamn times I can't even. I'm ashamed I have to do it again. Right? It's about desire, and there's a bigger, greater lesson in that. And I knew that was good. It always gets misconstrued, and everybody loves to bring that one up. The reason I'm sort of prefacing today's topic with that is because Myron Gaines was just on. He just did a tour through the University of South Carolina, and I forget the group that brought him there, but he was kind of doing one of those things like Steven Crowder does, where he sits out in the middle of the quad, and he's got a table that says, women deserve less, and it says, could you change my mind or some shit like. I mean, do what you got to do, but I mean, Crowder pulled that like back in like what 2018, I think 2016, yeah. And people have been sort of doing the same thing ever since. And then he did a talk at the university. I don't know that if this is part of a greater tour or something like that for Myron, but hey, more power to him. What I saw of it, I could pretty much get behind. I think a lot of it, I think some, just to be constructively critical here, I'm not throwing anybody on the bus and no shots fired. I'm just saying, like, I think that it was a great opportunity that got missed in a couple of spots. Meaning, like, there was, like, from what I watched of this, a lot of these chicks want to come up, but they just want a piece of Myron, and Myron sees this a mile away, and it's just like, go make me a sandwich. Like, that's the end of conversation. And it's like, no, dude, just like let them talk, because it's much easier to pick apart their arguments if you just don't just dismiss them. And one of the things that he did and he didn't dismiss was this one guy who came up to him and said, hey, look, I followed your advice. And I slept with a lot of women, and I found it was like, empty and vacuous and void. And my soul needed something. It was crying out for Jesus. And so therefore I became a born again Christian, and now I'm married, and I've got a great wife, and I've got a kid, blah, blah, blah. And everyone in the, in the quad is just like, yay, Jesus, but he did have a good conversation with them, and I'm gonna sort of riff on that a little bit today. I just thought that there was just a little bit, like, there could have been more substance to it. Like, it's instead of just like dismissing, it could have been a great opportunity, especially like I think one of these girls was a lesbian. She comes up, well, I'm a lesbian, and the first thing out of his mouth is, you're a useless society anyway. So it's like he's like, it was pointless to have a conversation with her, right? But. And I get it, but I think there could have been an opportunity to have a greater conversation. Oh, and then yes, just to point a few things out here, I did notice that. Let's see, how can I say his name without saying his name? Well, you guys know who was just on Alex Jones, right? Come on, you say his name. I'm not going to, but the kid, Der Führer Jr. was on Alex Jones, and of course Alex Jones had to like stop the conversation because they kept talking about Israel too much. And I thought that was kind of interesting. Also, I want to also point out that yes, I did see the exchange between Joe Rogan and Jordan Peterson, and I want to, before I move on, I have to put I gotta stick a pin in this one. Because me and Ryan Stone and a lot of the other guys from the early days of the Red Man Group, you guys probably don't even know the Red Man Group, the now defunct Red Man Group, which became Rule Zero later on. But one of the reasons why we even brought the Red Man Group together, like the very first show we did, you can go look this up, by the way. The very first show we did in the Red Man Group was being critical of Jordan Peterson, and people just gave me, and to this day, still give me shit. Like, if I'm critical of Jordan Peterson in any way, shape, or form, they go, you're professionally jealous of him, right? All Peterson had to do was say like, what, Candace Owens is a psychopath because she's pro-Israel, or she's anti-Israel, he's pro-Israel. All he had to do was take a side, and everyone who would jump up my ass for like being critical of Jordan Peterson, now suddenly he's just like, throw Jordan under the bus, like throw him from the train, man. It's like, is that all it took? All it took was for him to be like pro-Zion, whatever it is, pro-Israel. All it took was for him to go on a large scale show, on a big name show like Joe Rogan, and say what he had to say. And that's all it took for you guys to disown him? Fuck, why didn't I think of this in the first place? I could not believe it. And it's like, now it's like, oh, and everybody who's like commenting, I never liked that guy anyways. Shut the fuck up. You guys, they're saying, I never liked that guy anyways. They got like maps of meaning, and like 12 rules, and another 12 rules are in their bookcase behind them for visual interest. Yeah. Unbelievable. Is that all it took? All it took was just him popping off about Netanyahu. That's all. Oh man, you guys just don't understand. He's working on he's playing 4-dimensional chess. No, he's not. He's playing 4-dimensional chess. Netanyahu. I hate that guy. I've never liked him before. Oh God, it's like, you have to laugh to keep from crying because it's like I've dealt with this bullshit since Michaela Peterson decided to go and spend the night with Andrew Tate that one time, right? She never did that. Well, I don't know. You know who got that one video from, like where she's like crossing in the back where he's I've shown it. It's all over the internet right now where Andrew Tate is like doing some kind of podcast thing. You see Michaela walk. It's almost like the walk of shame and stuff. It was Jake Shields who sent me gave me that video too. Oh my God. So incredible. I don't know. If I was, it's got to be tough to be Jordan Peterson and to have gone off on like how, single moms aren't as good parents, or like working women aren't as good parents as whatever, and then have your daughter like be exactly the polar opposite of what you're talking about. So, okay, here we go. Maybe I'm crazy. You are, but it's possible that the top 4%, 4.5% are hated by more by Christ bros than the most serial forcible copulators. Yeah. Okay. Grapists. Yeah. You got to remember, like, that's a good point. I don't know if you guys remember when I did the video, it was about Hafiz from The Roommates. You guys want to know how we keep coming full circle all the time? What are we, 2 years now since Hafiz left the Manosphere, but he didn't leave the Manosphere. God, I remember when he did that one interview with Pearl, and he just would not say my name. He was just like, in fact, he'd get all shaky and like, get sweaty and shit like that whenever she brought up my name. No, it's the same thing. Do you remember the video that I did about when he was talking about licking the ice cream? Like you got to lick the ice cream in the ice cream store and stuff like that. Yeah, that's along those same lines there. What do we got here? Rollo, what do you think about making a compilation book of all your rational male essays? I could. Jay Dyer has one, and someone made one of Royce's Chateau Hartis essays. I'm aware of it. I wish someone would make one for Dalrock's essays. Yeah, they would be good, but you would be sifting through a lot of material. He was probably a more prolific writer than I was. Shannon Sharp is 56. Gabby Zuniga is 20. I thought she was 19.
I think 19 or 20 now.
I thought he was 54 and she was 19, but I don't know. Johnny Depp is 61 and Amber Heard is 39. What attracts young women to older men, love or money? Not love. That's funny you should say that. I was talking to actually I had my good friend Jake Cope, who is my drummer in Jinx. He was putting up some ceiling fans for me yesterday because that's what he does. And by the way, if you're looking for a good handyman, or if you're looking for a guy who does like demolition and does like renovations, Jake is your dude in Las Vegas. But we were talking about that, and I was talking about Shannon Sharp and is it Zuniga? Yeah. And I was just like, and I've said this before on a couple of other occasions. It was during the Me Too crisis, right? The Me Too moral panic during 2017, 2018. And it had crossed my mind that marriage rates have become so low that the sort of cottage industry that is like marry a guy for his money, stay married to him for like a few years and then divorce him and then get child support, and like that being sort of like the profit model, that's becoming harder and harder to come by for most women. And so therefore the substitute for that is to sleep with a high profile celebrity or somebody who's maybe a low profile celebrity. And then later on they make some money and then you come out with assault charges. And it's it's an instant pay kind of thing. Mm-hmm. So whereas if you were in a relationship or you were in a marriage and you get divorced, then you've got spousal support, then if you got kids, you got child support, alimony, whatever the fuck it is. And so it's like sort of this slow feed kind of revenue stream. Whereas if you are, I don't know, Shannon Sharp, you're getting rolled for $50 million. And so it's a big one lump sum. Now, is she going to see all of that? No, her lawyers will definitely probably take at least a third of that. But it seems to me that is an almost sort of an alternative to get married, take his money, and run kind of thing, instead of the other way around. So I'm wondering if you're not seeing a lot of that. Like I said this when the Me Too #MeToo thing came out. You're going to see a lot of this stuff happen where it's, I don't know what the statutes of limitations are, but like what was it, Bill Cosby, who was like indicted like a week before the statutes of limitations ran out, and to the day still denies any of the allegations. Went to jail. Would rather go to jail than take a fall. Yeah, exactly. Hey Rolo, just to confirm, you're not Jewish. I am not Jewish. Thank you. Do I look Jewish? I don't know. I don't know. I shouldn't say that. Does Aaron Clary look Jewish? Hey, baby. Tim Gordon did an anti-red pill video saying you were. Don't believe everything Der Fuhrer Jr. says or his bots say. I am in no way, shape, or form Jewish. But I think he heard that from Nick F. Yes, he did. And I am not. Thank you very much. And I love it when people like, I'll tell you what's funny is we were at Bel Air. My wife and I were at Bel Air, and we were meeting up with Sterling Cooper. And Sterling brought Jake Shields with him to Bel Air, and we're hanging out. Finally, at one point, like Jake goes, "You're Jewish, aren't you?" And I'm like, "No, dude." And I explained to him the whole like how everybody like got that idea, right? And I'm like, "Please tell everybody you know I am not Jewish, for Christ's sake, especially your boy, Nick F." Yeah, no, I am not Jewish. And please tell with Tim Gordon that I'm not Jewish either. Yes. Despite being fully red pill aware, why does it still feel punitive when women withhold sex? Because you're looking at it as a reward. Because it's from a behavioral perspective, it is positive reinforcement, meaning that it is a reward for desired behavior. You do certain things, you get pussy. It's very simple. Like one of the reasons I wanted to sort of like, I wasn't really able to get into evolutionary psychology because UNR wasn't offering a program in that when I was going to school. But my focus was behaviorism because it was the most nuts and bolts version of psychology that I could get into. But it also gelled really nicely with a lot of things that I was sort of writing and reading at the time on SOSWAP forums, and this is like way before we didn't even call it the Manosphere. It was just the SOSWAP forums, the seduction communities. But it was reward, and it was basically operant conditioning is what it is, and that's why it feels like a punishment when you don't get pussy, because you're too conditioned. You're operatively conditioned, like from a behaviorist sense. Am I low? Was my mic low?
No.
All right. Maybe I need to speak more directly into the mic.
I'll turn it up though.
Yeah, just pick me up like 2%. Why do red pill pickup artist guys like Roosh V still get disillusioned and take the Tucker Max or Jesus pill? Does this work out for ex red pill guys in the long term? There's only a few people I can really, like maybe two that I can really refer to. One of those is Roosh. And as far as Roosh is concerned, I think Roosh did it because he'd run out of options. Like, I think Roosh got to a point where he was burned out on what he was doing and decided to just sort of, go the Ted Kaczynski route. He just wanted to live in a shack somewhere in the forest. I don't know. God knows. Does anybody know what happened to Roosh? Right? He used to be like, Roosh had the potential to be Andrew Tate at one point. He could have been like, if he'd held out a little bit longer, he probably could have been as big a name as Andrew Tate made himself. But I think a lot of guys do it for the same, like Tucker Max. I don't know, is Tucker Max religious? He might be now. Tucker Max had no other choice. Tucker Max knocked up a chick who wouldn't abort the child, and so therefore he had this sort of by necessity. He made his necessity a virtue, in that he kind of had to do an about face. And so now it's like he still wants to be, a coach or a dating coach, or he still wants to be like sort of in the business, but he doesn't want to be known as the old Tucker Max, which is, I hope they serve beer in hell, right? That guy is not who the now Tucker Max is, and I haven't heard from Tucker Max in ages. And there's a lot of names like I'll get like, what the hell is that guy? Coach Corey Wayne, right? I mean, I haven't heard from Corey Wayne in a very long time, but these are guys who just sort of like at some point along the way, they had to change their tune, and it's usually because a chick was involved or a child was involved or a marriage was involved. And so they can't maybe they just feel like they can't maintain that persona that they had before, because that's all it was a persona. Roosh has a lot of problems. I've only ever met him once, and the guy didn't strike me as the most stable of dudes in the first place. But I think Roosh, when his sister died and a lot of this other stuff, it kind of just brought everything to a head, and I think he just decided to check out. Same thing with Tucker Max. Once he, knocked up his now wife, I think they're still married. The same thing happened with like Neil Strauss. Neil Strauss was, he literally wrote The Game and then wrote The Truth, right, to sort of like clean up his act. I could say the same thing. Well, not so much about Owen Cook. Owen's still Owen no matter what. But like, if you look at Julian Blanc like went from being like this incorrigible bad boy to like apologizing for being an incorrigible bad boy on The View or wherever he ended up having to do that. And then suddenly they want to come back into the fold again. I mean, Mystery is actually trying to do his own, like trying to pick up his own, do his own courses and stuff like that. So, yeah. Let's see. Lawsuits against rich old men are the new divorce. Yeah, more or less. Got to get back to work. Say hi to Ned for me. Ned says hi. He waves his bad leg at you. Do women think that men are emotionless? No, they just use their own emotions as a benchmark for what is human. Men aren't human to women. Like, I mean, literally, if you listen to the dating coach chick who's like, well, these guys need to get in touch with for how long have we listened to men need to get in touch with their feminine side? For how long have we heard, men need to express their emotions? Men need to, men need to get together and talk and instead of about the game or whatever else. And I'm just like, bitch, you have no earthly clue what you're talking about. Like, we have moved on so significantly from that mid-70s bullshit. Like, there's this thing you should really check out. It's called evolutionary psychology, and you don't even need that. Go and look at evolutionary biology. Go look how men's brains are wired and how women's brains are wired. Understand that we are not the same. We are not blank slates. They're like, men will be so much better. Well, how can they be better, Pookie? They should just be more like women, and then they would be better. Then everything would be fine, right? It's like, that's my number one like gripe with guys like Scott Galloway, especially like got men who like pile on with this shit. Like, men need to be, women find men who are kind and generous and thoughtful and insightful, and I'm like, no, that doesn't work that way. Okay, it's dark triad personality traits are actually what gets the juices flowing, my friend. It's 6-pack abs, 6 feet tall. I don't care how many ways you want to slice this up. And I just got into it with some people on fucking Twitter about this. Dad bods are not hot. Okay. I don't care how long you want to convince yourself of this dad bod bullshit. Like, it was, who was, our good friend, Will Costello. Will Costello put out this a very unscientific poll on Twitter, casting 2 guys. They're actually the same guy. One's a before and one's an after shot. The guy who's like before is like a little bit pudgy, probably 20% body fat, I would say. And then the guy, the after shot is him. He's got visible, I don't say 6-pack, but certainly a 4-pack, close to a 6-pack. And has a big smile on his face. He's yoked. It looks like he's a little bit more, jacked a little bit more. And asking, okay, which guy looks better to you? Men, women, the first guy, the second guy, that kind of stuff. So I had like 4 options, right? And of course, the only fucking, thank you, Ryan Stone, for making me aware of this, but the reason why you do a poll like that is to prove that those red pill guys are right. Oh, see, it's not as bad as you think it is. Really, you can have a few extra pounds. Women actually like a few extra pounds. They like it when you look like fucking Seth Rogen, They like it when you look like, when you're just slightly over. They're much more forgiving of a few extra pounds. They really like that because you can't get away. You can have the extra scoop of rice, right? It's you look like you're more secure. You look like you're more you're better security choice than the guy who's ripped, which is probably true, because the guys who are ripped are why would they be scared of the guy who's ripped? Because that guy is not going to be as loyal as the guy who's fat. Why? Because the guy who's fat has less sexual options than the guy who's ripped. Why would that be? Because chicks want to fuck the guy who's ripped, for fuck's sake, man. It's like, it blows me away. And it's like, it's this, like, if you look at the thread, if you look at the comment thread below that poll, it's like, I'm looking at it and it's like, it's just this litany of cope. It's just, oh yeah, women really like guys that look like, no, they don't. And I brought this up again, and people miss the point every time I say this, but it's like, what calendar sells the most? The Chippendales calendar or the Dad Bods calendar? Simple as that. And people are, well, only homosexuals buy the Chippendales calendar. No, the point is this. The point is that you know why people buy the Chippendales calendar more than the Dad Bods calendar? Because there is no Dad Bods calendar. They know it won't sell. That's why they don't do it. There is no Dad Bods calendar. God. Did you catch any of the shows that I did or any of the clips of the shows that we did when we had Alvaro on the last time? Just a side note, Alvaro did end up hooking up with one of the girls on the show that night, just as predicted. I will admit that the reason I brought him on was sort of to see reactions, to sort of like get alpha tells, and boy, I got a lot of them. And I'm glad to say I hooked him up. So yeah. But there's during that show, and I don't know that I still have it on here or not. I might not. I might have deleted it. Yeah, I did. During that show, I showed the before and after pictures of Alvaro on there when Alvaro was, and I hope I didn't embarrass him too much, but Alvaro had a belly, man. He was a fat kid, like in his high school years. And he even mentioned it, because we asked him this on the show. I said, what sort of prompted you to want to get into, competition shape? Because the guy competes. I mean, the dude has been a male stripper, and then he's also, he also competes in the fitness categories of bodybuilding contests and wins them. And the guy is like, fitness goals. That's my fitness goal right there. Right. Well, the first thing he said is it's like chicks won't give you the time of day when you're fat. Yep. He's like, I wanted to be in shape. I wanted to have a six pack. I wanted to look good because I wanted to get laid. He's upfront 100%, like brutally honest about the whole thing. And that's what he did. And now he's a personal trainer. And I think I know two guys that are his clients. Every last other one is a chick, dude. Every last other one. So, no, just to answer your question, MCD, no, because they don't, I think they don't think that men are emotionless. I think that they think that men are emotionally retarded. And I mean that in the clinical sense, that we are stunted in some way. And the reason is because they use their own emotionality as the benchmark for all humanity. Like, well, those men aren't as emotional as us, so there must be something wrong with them. And the fact of the matter is that men don't prioritize emotion the way that women do. Men do not process emotion the same way that women do. Very well studied fact, and not just evolutionary psychology. This is evolutionary biology. This is like fMRI scans of brains and shit like that. So, and especially negative emotions, men do not process negative emotions the same way that women do. But the problem is, in a gynocentric social order, we presume that the base correct existence or the base correct experience in life is the female one. That's why you get the female dating coach who has no other frame of reference than this social constructionism and the blank slate, and then emotionalism on top of that, right? So when you have when she's trying to diagnose the problem, she's diagnosing men as if they are women, or they are imperfect women, that if they would just simply emote like women, they would solve all their mental disorders. It would solve all of their problems. They would get laid because they would be more like women. If you emote more like a woman, if you talk more like a woman, if you communicate more like a woman, if you experience life more like a woman, gentlemen, according to, I know, Dr. Pookie here, you will live a better life because you're more like a chick, because women live the ideal lives, right? That's the presumption of all that. And yes, it's completely factually, empirically incorrect. Shout out to Raw Egg Nationalist and the Man's World magazine. Okay. Man's World. If women are trying to determine if a man is congruent to the status he is projecting, are men trying to determine if a woman is congruent to anything? No. You know what men are trying to determine for women? Would I fuck her? And is she available to fuck? Those are the two things men are trying to figure out. Is she DTF? That's it. In the beginning. After that, anything else that comes after that, well, maybe I want to stick with her, maybe I don't. We'll make that determination after I get laid. That's really what it comes down to. Men are very simple when it comes to our sexual strategies. We want unlimited access to unlimited sexuality. That's it. Women is hypergamy. Alpha fucks, beta bucks. All there is to it. Any thoughts on the new dark tetrad, triad, and sadism? No, I haven't read anything about that, but I will check that out. I'm not really sure about that. Richard Cooper, has a funny pic of a fat OnlyFans entrepreneur doll simps sold separately, which I showed my sis, a Christian, and she said, I don't get it. Yeah, they will never will. Women don't have a clue about men. No, they don't. And what is the secret to your 30-year marriage? Oh, would you like me to get into that? Mentally stable wife, alpha mindset, money, muscles, game, frame, laying pipe, and taking her soul? Yes, to all of those. Yeah. Yes. Your answer is yes. People hate it when I bring this up, especially like when I'm talking to like Christians and stuff. Like if I get into like sort of like religious debate, they don't like to hear the fact that I have a pretty good fucking marriage and have had one for coming up on 29 years. In July, it will be 29 years. I've been with my wife for 30. So I guess if that means anything to anybody. I have one daughter who just turned 27, and she's been married for coming up on 2 years now. And so I guess I lose though, because I haven't had 6 kids. Because I need more daddy cool points. I mean, you're not a real man. Why? You only have one child. Yeah, but I do, and you don't. I think people really get upset when they hear me talk about marriage. And again, that's like, I'm not shitting on marriage. I'm not even shitting on religion. Like I would never do that. I am in the introduction to religion, to my book, I said this in the very beginning of it. I said, look, if you're an atheist and you're looking for a book, if you're hoping this book is going to be me shitting on all these religions by using the red pill, you're going to be very disappointed. And then I said this as well. I said, if you're a Christian or you're Muslim or whatever, and you think I'm going to shit all over atheism by using the red pill and using this book at the same time, like, you're going to be very disappointed as well, because I tried to stay as objective as I possibly can. Now I'm just trying to point out and illustrate and just observe the facts of what works with the red pill and what doesn't work with the red pill as far as religion is concerned. So that's what I'm going to try to strive for when I'm going through some of these videos here today. I got 2 videos I want to sort of riff on a little bit, because they both represent a lot of sort of the misgivings and the misnomers that I think of, the presumptuousness of, I get, for lack of a better term, white pill guys, Christ bros, ortho bros, Tradsbergs. I don't know what to call you. There's definitely a sort of I'll say groundswell. There's definitely a group of guys who are part of that sort of, Christ bros, is for lack of a better term, that they want to ride the fence when it comes to the red pill. Like they want to be part of the popularity of it, and they did when Andrew Tate was coming up in 2022. They wanted to be, I really like what he has to say, man, especially when it comes about, get on your game and get out and motivate yourself. And it's like, it's pep rally bullshit, right? They liked that part. But all the parts that like Andrew Tate kind of sort of, appropriated from my work and appropriated from the red pill, there's the parts that kind of rub them the wrong way. And they don't like, they tend to think that the aspects of the red pill that are sort of vestiges of the old PUA, pickup artist seduction community, that are still lingering in the red pill. It's like what I call pick and pull red pill. Like they'll go and say, well, I like this part. I'm gonna take this part and this part and this part, but we don't want that part over there. We're gonna pull all these things out. So the red pill's right about this and this and this and this and this, but like what is it? Any girl who won't fuck you on the first, or who makes you wait for sex. Well, we're going to put that over here. We're going to put the things that that are unflattering to women. We're going to put them over here. Anything that in any way takes our sweet little heavenly, godly women off of the pedestal, we're going to put those things over here. But when it comes to, you'll notice that they're always the things that they accept, the things that they like the best are always like male self-improvement. They don't like anything that is unflattering about female nature. Or if they do, then they'll go, well, in the Old Testament, that was the real red pill, because it already said, if to live with a woman who is a nagging bitch is like living in a corner of the house with a constant drip, or something. How profound, yes. Or what is it? The prostitute turns you into a loaf of bread. Like that's one of the Proverbs or some shit like that. And so, they already knew about this stuff. So why do we need the red pill? Well, clearly you do, because I should give you some background here. Is right around 2012, I think it was, I started seeing these same guys come into the sphere. And you're right. And Matt Walsh is actually one of them. Matt Walsh used to be like a staff writer for, I don't want to say it was Breitbart, but something else. Steven Crowder. Remember when Steven Crowder first got married? 2016 to Hillary Crowder? Yes. And wrote this really lengthy article for Fox News about how he did everything right, and he saved himself for marriage, and she saved herself for marriage, and they met at the same church, and they had the families, and they were like, rolling down the street for their honeymoon. The wedding's over, and they're in some convertible car, and they're like, yeah, we're gonna, like Jackie Onassis and freaking, John F. Kennedy. And it's like, I'm sure Crowder does not like to be reminded of that these days. But it was during that time that, guys like Doug Wilson, there's some other pastors I'm drawing a blank on right now. Pastor Doug Wilson was one. The reason I remember him is because he used to just come at Dalrock all the time. And Dalrock, to his credit, always checked him. But there was a time, I want to say like the mid 20-teens, 2012, 2014, somewhere in there, where a lot of, Jesus, really, you want that? What?
I'm like, man, roll up some ice, you don't get no holes, man.
All right, there you go. Are you happy now? Yeah. So I began to notice this because it was sort of beginning to show up in Dalrock's feeds quite a bit. But there was this sort of influx of, like, I wanted to say youth pastors, but they were like mostly like, there wasn't much youth to them, but there was an influx of pastors from mostly evangelical churches. And they were coming into they were discovering this new thing called the Manosphere. They were discovering this new thing called the red pill. And the reason why they were doing that is because around about 2013-ish, I think, they started looking around their congregations and like, where the fuck are all the men? There's nothing but women in their congregations, right? And how do I know this? Well, because when I was doing my research for the fourth book, please do me the common courtesy and buy the book from Amazon. It's actually not even that expensive, and read it, and you will understand what I'm talking about, because there's I'm sort of paraphrasing myself from the book. But round about the, 2013, 2014, they started looking around the churches and they go, holy shit, where'd all the guys go? Where did they go? Right here, right to this show, right to Roosh V, right to Royce, right to myself, right to, because remember, we didn't even have a YouTube presence back then. but they were all trafficking our blogs. I had the number 2 traffic blog in the Manosphere during that. Royce was number 1. And Dalrock was on that list. That's why I was part of the 3 R's: Roosh, Royce, and Rolo. Those were the 3 R's of the Manosphere, and now I'm the last man standing. And then I think Dalrock should have been included in that number, but they had very high traffic blogs. Those are the blog years. Like I look at it, the forum years, the blog years, then there's kind of like the social media / YouTube years, and we're kind of really into the podcast live stream years right now. And definitely social media, but like back in the day, just the progress of technology anyways. I moved from the forums, from the social forums, into my own blog, which was something I was really reluctant to do, by the way. But then when I started getting into it, and then I published my first book, right? But well, I'm glad you're happy, sir. So I take me out with a shotgun blast, Tom. So they started looking around the churches, and they said, where all these guys go? And they realized that their men folk had left the church because there's nothing for them in the church anymore. It become feminized, everything in the church, especially evangelical churches, more than anything else. Okay. People will say, well, not in my church. I go to an Orthodox, Eastern, whatever, Russian, this, I don't know. The point I made in the book is that it's just a matter of time before feminization comes in and basically infiltrates your church. It will undermine your church, just like the Borg, resistance is futile. A lot of Muslims fought me on that too, and now I see a lot of these guys saying, "You were right, man. The women don't want to wear the hijab anymore. They don't want to, they don't want to shape up." There's some holdouts for sure. And I know that a lot of guys, like probably Andrew Wilson and Rachel Wilson, will probably check me on this and say, well, not on the Eastern Orthodox Church. They're still wearing little doilies over their head or some shit like that. All right, but it's a matter of time, because it's a headspace, it's a mindset, and I think one of the things is that a lot of guys who are sort of religious, and you'll see this in the video, both of the videos that I show you today. Both of those videos, the guys who are in them, they make their case based on the fact that they are just as religious as the woman that they're with is religious. Like the best way to find a good quality woman wife is to go to church and find one who's like on board with you. Yeah, that 100% agree. Show me where she is. Steven Crowder, show me where she is. And it's just to stick your head back in the sand, like after you've already been educated, after you've already sort of swallowed the red pill, and you want to be reinserted back into the matrix, right? It's like Cypher, right? I want to be someone famous. I want to, I know this steak doesn't exist, but I know that my mouth is going to eat it. It's going to be juicy and delicious and and I want to be rich. Whatever you want, sir. It's like, it's this idea of like, once you have sort of taken the red pill and you're going back into it, there's no going back, by the way. You're not going to unsee that which you've already seen. What did you say? That Access Vegas shirt is excellent quality. Oh, great. Thank you. You bought one. You can go get that merchandise anywhere now, or I should say at the link that's in here. It's at Sticker Mule. That's where it's at. Oh, wait, what time is it? Oh, we're at the top of the hour. Okay, I have to make this announcement before I continue on. All right. I want to let you guys know, since we're at the 1 hour mark. I'm going to be doing a seminar, a free Zoom seminar for Reignite. Free. You guys can just show up, and I will give you the link here in just a moment. It's actually the second link down in the stack there. You can see it, but it's essential steps for growth. This is what we decided to name it. I will show you the actual landing page too. Why don't I do that? Let's share the screen. Oh, wait, nope. Chrome tab. There we go. This is it. Can you see it? Hot damn. There we go. All right, so this is a free webinar. It's going to be going off on Saturday of next week. That will be the 3rd? May 3rd, I believe is what it is. Yeah, May 3rd. So Saturday, May 3rd is at 10 p.m. 10 p.m. It's 10 a.m., by the way, not 10 p.m. I got that wrong. 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time to 12 p.m. Okay. So it's just a couple hours. I'm going to be going over a couple of things here. That mental point of origin. These are the most popular topics that people have asked me that they wanted to sort of cover. You guys will be in it. You can ask questions. It's just, just to give you guys an idea of what we do at Reignite. We're going to cover frame control and sedation. Like you guys already know, I did a sedation show last week. This is why. So if you guys are a fan of my Substack at all, you'll understand why I'm doing these topics, because the last few essays that I have been doing were actually coincide with parts of the new book that I'm working on right now, which is called Reignite. And so the frame control, mental point of origin, and sedation all lock in with each other. So they're all sort of like part of a trifecta right there. And one of the things I'm doing with the new book is not only am I trying to make sort of aspects of the red pill more useful to guys, I'm also pointing out the synergies or the connections between certain concepts. So like when we talk about like mental point of origin, or we talk about frame, right? When talking about frame locks in with burden of performance, which then locks in with mental point of origin, which then locks in with, you can't get anything done until you're unsedated kind of thing. And so all of these sort of like interconnect with each other. So that's why I started with these three. So if you're interested in talking about these things, you have questions, direct questions and stuff, it's going to be open. Yes, you can register. You can just get a spot. There's lots of spots available still. We just launched this, so please go ahead and get a part of it. So that's coming up on May 3rd, and then, like I said, it's only a couple hours, and then you guys, if you have any questions or if you want to talk to me about it more, or if you're looking for like one-on-one or something like that, you guys can let me know. But you'll have direct access to me like live in person on a Zoom call. So there you go. Oh, and then the other thing is, yes, we're still going to Miami. That's going to be the middle of May. I have up to this point, I got one person who said she wants the last spot on the fishing trip. I haven't got 100% confirmation from her. That's our good friend Morgan from the show. Actually, she said she wanted to go because she's like one of these chicks who likes to fish. I'm like, oh, fuck yeah, dude, marry that girl. But like if she shows up in a thong, I'll be like, fuck, this is great. Let's go. So yeah, so there you go. Yeah, if you guys want to, it's not going to be. I don't do PowerPoint, by the way. I know. PowerPoint. No, I don't do PowerPoint. You know, I don't do PowerPoint because Steve Jobs once said that if you know your shit, you don't need PowerPoint. And I took that to heart, and I've never used PowerPoint. So I don't do slideshows and stuff. I don't do whiteboards because I know my shit. I've been doing this for 20 fucking years. Thank you very much. I don't need a whiteboard. I don't need graphs. I don't need slides. I don't need fucking PowerPoint. I know my shit. So yeah. That's the best line Steve Jobs ever had. You don't need PowerPoint if you know your shit. Yeah. All right. So there you go. The other thing is let's see. Miami. Miami's coming up. Well, they changed the venue for the white party. It's now at Strawberry Moon and not at Hyde anymore, which is actually kind of neat because they've had it at Hyde for forever and they just now changed it. So I have to rechange the dude. Let me tell you something here. Fishing in a thong. Yes. I love those channels. I subscribe to quite a few fishing channels. But yeah. So anyways, how do you sign up? Well, you can sign up right there. It's the second link down in the description. It's right there. Click on it once and you'll get it. Sammy, if you'd be so kind as to copy and paste that and put it in the chat, that'd be awesome. But it's just right there. Not hard. So anyways, I'm gonna riff on some of these things. Now, the first thing I want to get into, like for the first one, which one should I do first? Should I do Tim Pool? No, I'm gonna do Myron first. So I forget this dude's name. I apologize for not having his. Well, let me go look it up right quick. This guy did a breakdown or rundown on the whole exchange between Myron and. Oh, there we go. He did an exchange between Myron and this guy, this religious guy at the University of South Carolina. Aaron Page. There he is. That's his name. Sorry. He kind of reminds me of Hafiz a little bit. He's kind of got Hafiz's like bug eyes. But okay, I'm just going to throw this on here real quick, and we'll just kind of slowly work our way through this because there's a lot of points. Primarily, I'm not even really riff too much on Aaron Page himself, because I think a lot of stuff he said, I don't necessarily think I disagree with a lot of this stuff. But there we go. All right, here it is.
From Fresh and Fit Podcast, a red pill channel that encourages men to make as much money as possible and to sleep with as much women as possible.
All right, well, let's just stop it right there. Shall we stop it right there? I think we can stop it right there. All right, I don't know how. See, whenever somebody starts shit out like this, it's like, I can tell you've never watched the show. Never, ever watched the show. Or they've heard like a couple things like, oh, aren't you the guy that said you should sleep with 50 women before you marry a chick? It's like, well, if you've watched anything that Myron has said or watched any of the shows that Myron's like, he's not like I guess I better I still have to get like 9 more chicks to be cool with Myron, right? Because my body count's only 41. But they'll hear like a few little snatches of things from a clip or something like that. And then this is what defines Myron and Fresh. This is what defines the red pill. These red pill guys, of course, he never says anybody by name. He never says who. But it's, I mean, I've come to realize that this is how it is. But I just got somebody threw this at me in a Twitter feed. Like, aren't you the guy that said you should get a vasectomy when you're 20 years old? Completely off topic. Okay, dude, if you're going to try to discredit me, do it in another thread, because you look like an idiot trying to like throw everybody off the trail here, off the conversation. No, that's not the whole thing. But of course, everybody wants to make it about that, right? Hey, I got you. No, you didn't get me. Just a fucking idiot is what you are. So starting off from this basis of sort of like poisoning the well. This is the well's already poisoned, right? These guys talk about make as much money as you possibly can and fuck as many women as you fucking can. Like, I don't think I have ever said fuck as many women as you possibly can. In fact, if anything, I've been critical of that because I think a lot of guys end up like making it a game, right? That's the reason. Why do we call it notch count? Well, these guys want it to be about, or the only reason guys want to get laid is because they want like a hot girl to show off and make other guys feel bad about themselves. No, that's the guys who don't fuck. That's what they think about guys who do fuck, right? Or else it's conquest. It's licking the ice cream, right? It's like how many flavors of ice cream can I lick before I decide to have one flavor of ice cream, right? And the fact of the matter is like I don't think any red pill podcast. I'm like, what other podcasts are there? What other like quote unquote, I would call themselves a red pill podcast? How many others are there? Can anybody name a red pill podcast that is a self-avowed, other than the Rational Male? Obviously, I say that we're a red pill podcast. Certainly, Access Vegas, I would say we're a red pill podcast, but that's only by default because I'm on the show, right? Would Myron and Fresh would they call themselves a red pill podcast? Man, probably. Who else? Who else is there? Who else would call themselves seriously, in the chat, give me some ideas. Who would call themselves a red pill podcast? Because a lot of people don't want that stank. They don't want the stank on them, right? Who would be a red pill podcast? That's it. Me? Would Joker be a red pill podcast? I don't think Aaron Clary would not call himself a red pill podcast. Hell, even Andrew Tate has sort of like disavowed those guys are dweebs and dorks, Like who? Marquette? Would Marquette be a red pill? Mike Sartain would not call himself a red pill podcast. He might be red pill adjacent, but he talks about red pill podcasts or red pill topics. But I don't think Mike would refer to his show as a quote unquote red pill show. Kevin Samuels. I don't think I ever heard Kevin Samuels say he was red pill. And again, Kevin Samuels has been gone for a while now. Undead Chronic, black pill. MGTOW at the very least. But I don't think it would call him that. Rich Cooper would say we're part of the mana swamp. Are you kidding? Rich Cooper will say, I don't want anything to do with those red pill guys, and then do more red pill content. That's basically it. I don't think Alexander Grace, is he even still working? Is he still doing something? CGA would not call himself a red pill. I don't think he would call himself a red pill. CGA got into it on the MGTOW tip. Ryan probably would call himself red pill. That I would give you. Big Mo, I don't know. I don't think Undead Chronic would be. Undead Chronic is more black pill. I think he would call himself black pill. Rich Cooper, no. Rich Cooper would, like I said, he's red pill until he's not, and then he's red pill again. So, does he talk about red pill topics? Yes. Would he call himself red pill? I don't know. Pearl would probably try to call herself red pill. Yeah, I will give you that. Temple is most definitely not. Donovan Sharp, yeah, Donovan might. Donovan probably would call himself red pill. Anson Daniels, maybe. I'm just like, who has red in their name? Who had red pill in their name, right? Who has it in their description is what I'd like to. Not whatever would not want to be called red pill. They're entertainment. Yeah, Undead Chronic, and no hate against Undead Chronic, but like, definitely would be black pill. Asmund Gold is definitely not red pill. Red pill Thor, when Red Pill was up, David Buss would not call himself red. Shit, David Buss would definitely not call himself that. Brian, no. Nuke, I don't know. He might. Asmund Gold is no. Pure entertainment. Darius, they do the material, but I don't necessarily know that they would simply call themselves that. Anyways,
gets called out by a man who took his advice literally, did all of the things that he said to do, and said that it ruined his life. Okay, I want to show you all this video. I know that this one's important, especially for men, because this type of content can distort the way that you think. Okay, and it can have you thinking how they think, which is not right. All right, let's hop into this video, watch it, and react to it. Before we do me a quick favor. Hit that like button for the YouTube algorithm so that this video can reach more people like yourself. I truly appreciate you guys, and if you're not already subscribed to the channel, go ahead and tap.
Likes me nothing.
Remember me at all?
No.
Okay. So can I ask a quick synopsis of what you think the prescription is for society today for men? In a short version, what do you think they should do to be successful with women?
To be successful with women, yeah. Okay, are we talking about like getting a girl for a long-term relationship, just to get laid? What are we talking about?
Well, I think the only reason should be for a long-term relationship and marriage. I mean, that's Jesus Christ founded it, but I'm just curious what your prescription is.
Well.
Okay, so right there, right from the rip, we already have the witness. This is the witnessing, okay?
I've talked about this. I think guys have to have certain things in place, right, before they want to get into a long-term relationship. It's 5 things. So I would say 100K per year, 6 figures a year, 6 months to 1 year of savings, be in good shape, have at least 50 partners, right, sexual body count.
All these chicks lose their shit. It's like 90% of those chicks losing their shit have over 50 body count.
All right, and then is that the last one?
And then there's one more, but that's fine. You could go ahead and engage with what I've said so far.
So I've watched almost every.
See, so what he's trying to do is he's trying to get him to say what he already knows he's going to say. Yep. Right? He already knows this. He just wants it to be said publicly so everybody can go, "Oh my gosh, 50!" Really? So, anyways, he's doing this because he's trying. This is the setup, right? So you told me that this is what we ought to do, right? Now you guys got to understand one of the reasons why I don't do advice, or I try to avoid it as much as possible. Like if people hit me up for a one-on-one thing, or if they want me to do counseling with them, or if they want something like that, the first thing you'll see when I send you my I have an email that I like response for something like this. If people want some sort of consultation, like a one-on-one consultation with me, in my policy email that I send you back, because I have to have you agree to this before I go and do anything, because it's to cover my ass and it's to cover your ass, right? So what I always say is like, I say from the jump, I'm not a therapist, I'm not a psychologist, I'm not a clinical psychologist, I'm not going to cure your autism, any of this stuff.
But what I do say is this, is that I'm an analyst. So I will observe and check out what your situation is, and I will tell you what I think is going on. I'm going to analyze your situation, and I'm going to tell you what from my perspective, from my third party perspective, what I think is going on. And if that's valuable to you, then hell, we're in business, right? I never try to say, here's what you ought to do. Because 9 times out of 10, guys who hit me up, they already know what they're going to do. Like, they know what they should do. They just want me to give them permission to do it. Rolla said I could do it. Like, I just told you what I saw going on, right? And so when people come to me, and this is very important because I got to start off this whole thing. One of the reasons why I'm very specific about not wanting to be a quote unquote, I guess I am, but not wanting anyways to be an influencer or somebody giving advice. I don't want to be like that chick who's like, talking about, oh, men need to get in touch with their emotions. I don't advocate best practices. So if you look at any of even my religion book, all the way up to even the Player's Handbook, the Player's Handbook is not a how-to book. It's a why it works book. Again, mentioned first thing in the introduction. And the reason why I say that is because the red pill is not one size fits all. The red pill is just a praxeology. It is just information. What you do with that information, how you interpret that information, is up to the individual. And as I've said before, and I always run the risk of doing this, but this is just part of the job, right? Is you can't tell people statistics, and you can't tell them data, and you can't just give them simple facts without telling them how to feel about it. And that's exactly what this guy is doing right here. He's telling everybody how they ought to feel about what Myron talks about on the show. Now, Myron usually, like when he's referring to the book, Why Women Deserve Less, right? But one of the reasons I think Myron, and I would tell Myron this too, like if he watches this, I hope he does. But one of the things is, if we're going to get back to red pill roots, if we're going to get back to basics, we need to talk about stats. We need to talk about facts. We need to talk about dynamics from an impersonal, indifferent perspective, rather than saying you ought to do this or imply that you ought to do this. Okay. And so when I approach the red pill, it's from a praxeological perspective. And people go, well, what about morality? What's good and what's wrong? Those are best practices. So what I do with the red pill, people just ask me, what's the secret to your 30-year marriage, right? Is it because of, this, and this, and this, and this? And that's like, I've said this before. I will say it when I said this on Tim Pool. I attribute the success, at least in part, if not in greater part, I attribute the success of my marriage to my understanding of my nature, of my wife's nature, of the confluence between those two, men and women's nature, and understanding red pill concepts, and then applying them as they best fit me. So when people go, well, how do I have a great relationship with my wife like you do, Rolo? I go, I don't know. Is your wife like my wife? You're not the same as me. One size does not fit all. You have to take that information and that data and the stuff that you're being educated, you're being equipped. You have to take that and use it and create your own plan to make your life better. That's the beauty of all this, man. You get to do it on your fucking own, man. You don't I don't have a book called 12 Rules for Life. I don't have a step-by-step plan. And that's the problem, is these guys want that. And when it doesn't fucking work, they want to be able to come back and read you the goddamn riot act in front of all these kids at South Carolina University. So that's really what's going on here. The guy knew what he was going to say, knows what he's going to say before the words come out of his mouth.
Podcast you ever did for about a year and a half. So much so that I bought into a lot of the things that you said. And for about 2 years, it led me astray and significantly damaged my personal life, including relationships.
How did it lead you astray?
Well, you told me to go sleep with a bunch of women and date multiple women at the same time, which I did. And it significantly damaged my life. And it wasn't until I actually turned around and started.
You notice how ambiguous, like how so? How did it damage your life? How? What did it do? Like, you look like you're pretty well adjusted right now, So how did it do that? There's never any specifics when it comes to stuff like that.
Listening to Jesus Christ that I was saved. Now I'm happily married. I have one child now with another one on the way, and I've never felt happier. But I felt.
Congratulations, that's good. That's really
Thank
good.
you, thank you. And I know you're not against that, but my concern is what you're saying to men leads them astray, because I'm a walking example of it. And I think you're significantly damaging people, and especially you're leading people away from morality. Women.
Okay, so damaging. How were you damaged? Like it's very unspecific. It's always very ambiguous. But see, here's the thing: is like even if I question this, I sound like the asshole. If Myron questions this, he's the asshole. You know why? Because Jesus Christ. God card. God always wins. You can't argue against God. That's why like when people say, you need to go and talk to Jay, what's his name? Or you need to go and talk to Will Spencer. You need to go and talk to, I don't know, Tom Gore, whoever the fuck, right? And it's like, why? Because the debate is pointless. Well, God said this, so I'm right and you're wrong. Bye. That's all it comes down to. There's never, it doesn't matter what the conversation is. It doesn't matter what the data is. It doesn't matter what what your take is. It's basically opinion being thrown at each other. That's all it comes down to. But the thing is like at the end of the show, like, well, God told me to do this and this is the right way to do things. And so therefore, God card, you're wrong. I'm right. Bye. Ah, look, you schooled Burlow. Yeah.
Women are not sex objects. Women are created in the image of God, and they are valuable. And they should be treated as such. Why should God give you one of his children if you don't even know how to treat them? So I think.
So a question for you. You said you got out there dating and meeting women and stuff like that. And then you said that it kind of hurt you.
Yeah.
How did it hurt you specifically? Did you like just start? What happened specifically?
Well, I started warring against my own flesh. It's like trying to fill an empty void. Mm-hmm. There's a God-shaped vacuum in the heart of every man that can only be filled by God alone.
This is all Christianese right here. Okay. So this is like whatever pastor told him this is on repeat.
Anything else you try to fill with that's not going to satisfy it. Sure. And I tried to do it with sex.
Yeah. So would it be fair? How'd you meet your wife?
We actually had the #1 dating podcast in North and South Carolina called Who Hurt You Podcast.
Okay.
And I'm also
My God.
also friends with Fresh. I know him very well. I texted him before I came here. Yep. And I know pretty much everyone on your crew. But I was a heavy follower, and you actually inspired me to start the podcast, and I realized what I was doing was wrong.
Well, it could have been that wrong because you had the #1 fucking podcast in South Carolina, my friend. It couldn't have been that bad. Really? I had a God-shaped hole in my heart and I had to fill it with sex, right? Well, did what he say work? Like you weren't getting sex and then you were after you listened to like what Myron was saying. So was he wrong or were you just applying it in a way that just simply wasn't working for you? Right? So the guy, hey, I listened to your stuff for a year and a half and I went out and I had sex with multiple partners and I had blah, 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 right? So it worked for you then. So it actually worked, right? So that's the thing is like, and Myron's going to bring this up here in just a second, which is your life significant? Has your life benefited from, like, I don't care if you think it's like, maybe you should have gone around, you should have come to the same place and via a different route. Is that what we're saying? Because you're still where you're at as a result of having listened to inspiring you to your Who Hurt You podcast, right? So there has to be some value to it.
Yeah, so would it be fair to say that when you went through that experience, you were able to identify characteristics that you probably found as unredeemable and you probably wouldn't want to commit to, right?
In what way?
Well, when you were seeing these women, right, you probably started seeing patterns in how they behave, how they speak or whatever. Maybe they're not qualified to be a wife. Because the thing is, right?
Well, I don't need that. I have the Bible for that. It tells me what to look for.
Yeah, but the thing is.
How was that working out for you before you started watching Fresh and Fit? Were you getting in? Were you putting yourself out there? Did the Bible give you the wisdom to say, hey, I need to go out to the clubs and find a chick? Hey, maybe I should change something about myself. Maybe all the things that Myron was talking about that got you laid, that got you to the point where you could actually go out and have multiple girls and maybe select from amongst those multiple girls. Perhaps that was something that was lacking in the Bible. I don't know.
Is that you were able, and again, you're probably not going to notice it, but when you dated and dealt with all these women, you probably were able to identify characteristics that you were not fond of, or characteristics that would make a woman not a good candidate for a long-term relationship. And I think half the game is figuring out which girls don't qualify for marriage versus which ones that do. And clearly you learned a skill set on how to become attractive and get women. And then you're able to identify the things that you like versus the things that you don't like. And that only comes a lot of times with experience. Now, look, if a guy can go ahead and, find a woman as a virgin and be attractive and be able to understand how to navigate that, that's great in modern times. But the reality is a lot of guys don't. And I mean, even in your success story, you had to go through a lot of bad women to be able to identify your current wife as the one. So failures are good.
You don't have to go through things in order to understand that you shouldn't or you should do something.
Okay. What he's about to do is he's about to make the point that this is Christianese once again, but it's common philosophy, right? I don't have to drink poison to know that it's poisonous, right? You don't have to go through these experiences to know, to attain wisdom, right? Let me ask you something here. Would you rather, if let's say you were addicted to heroin, would you rather have your drug counselor be a guy who read a lot of books on it, has a degree in heroin counseling, or would you rather have a guy who has all the same knowledge, but also was a recovering addict himself and understands exactly what you're going through? That is empathetic, literally can feel what you're experiencing, has felt because he's felt it before. Who's a more effective drug counselor? A previous addict or the guy who just has a lot of book knowledge? I would argue strongly that the guy who has gone through it already is going to be a more effective counselor than a guy who has never experienced what it's like to be high on cocaine or high on fucking heroin or whatever else it is. So yes, there is a point to this. And it's usually, and I hate to say this because this is part of my religion too, right? So saying, the Bible is an infallible book, but okay, great. But the thing is would you rather have somebody who has no prior knowledge of marriage, of divorce, of having gone through an experience that maybe was a very negative experience? I would not wish my experience going through hell with my borderline personality disordered girlfriend. I would not wish that on my worst enemy. And I mean that. I wouldn't even wish that on Destiny. It was the pit of fucking misery. But I went through that and I understand that. So when people come to me and say, my girlfriend this, and she's got BPD, and I understand, and I can have a more meaningful conversation with somebody and help them out of that pit of hell because I was in that pit of hell myself. So yes, you do have to experience things. You have to go through stuff. One of the problems I have, like with when I was doing my research for the fourth book or for religion. I can remember going to like church and listening to pastors on Valentine's Day, right? Or Mother's Day or Father's Day. Usually it's Valentine's Day. And that's when you get like the relationship sermons and you get the sex sermons and it's always guys do better, blah, blah, blah. But one thing I noticed is, especially from younger pastors, they would go up onto the stage or the podium, whatever, and they would always bring their wives with them. And the wife had to be like, right, they're co-pastoring, right? And at no other time would they do this, but that one Sunday, that's when they were doing it. And wifey is up there to just sort of nod her head and go, yeah, it's okay, ladies. He's saying what we want him to say, nodding along, saying it's all, so I approve, vaya con Dios. He's saying it's kosher. No, I'm not Jewish. But then I began to realize, like, here I am, like, I think at the time I was in my 50s, right? So looking at this guy, and the guy looks like he's probably in his like mid 20s, maybe early 30s. I'm like, and then they proudly talk about how they met at church camp, and how they really wanted to get after it, but they couldn't because they weren't married, and so they would sneak around and on all this other stuff. And I'm like, why would anybody be taking this guy's personal stories, his personal anecdotes, as something that should be like a basis for advice for marriage or for anything else for that matter? Like, well, it doesn't matter. We got the Bible. Okay, well, the end of discussion. Show me where in the Bible where it says, how do I find a quality woman? Where do I find her? Do I find her at a charity event? Do I find her at Bible study? Do I find her in the clubs? Because I'll tell you right now, that's where I met Mrs. Tomasi.
right where they tell you you're not supposed to find a quality woman. Found her at a gig right as soon as I was done. Drink a beer. It's awesome. Loved it. Had no problem with it. That's not where you find a quality woman. Where do you find them? Oh, in church, at the Bible study at church. Just you mean like Hillary Crowder and Steven Crowder? So let's take everything with a grain of salt.
You don't have to go through it. Like, I don't have to jump off of a building to understand that that's going to end my life. I can use wisdom and say that looks like it's going to end my life because I've seen someone else do it and it ended their life. And so men, we don't have to sleep with multiple women and have all these like relationships in order to understand who we want as a wife, or vice versa.
You kind of do.
Aim for the bushes. You
kind of do. And I will tell you that, and I'll explain to you. One of the reasons I brought this up on this is part of a clip I did at one point. One of the reasons I think that a lot of Christian guys have a real tough time with pornography, like what is it, 70% of married Christian men in general, and this was the last numbers I had, so this was like back from 2020, that 70% of Christian men who identify as Christian, have a pornography addiction or a problem or struggle, quote unquote, struggle with pornography. Why? Well, don't you have some insulation against that? Doesn't the Bible give you the wisdom to stay far, far away from that? I think one of the reasons why a lot of Christian men struggle, quote unquote, with pornography is because it shows them what they're missing. It shows them what they could be doing. It shows them what they could have had. That's the problem. Like, oh wow, chicks do that. Like I know so many guys who have come out of really bad divorces, and their ex-wife takes up with maybe a younger guy or I don't know, a new guy, and she is doing and performing sexually in ways that she would never have considered having sex with him. Like, she's a doggy style, no problem. I'll do this. I like all the stuff that she would never do with that guy. She would just by default wanted to do with this guy. That's why you have to have experience. That's why you have to understand female nature. And how do you do that? You have to experience it firsthand. Like, show me something in the Bible that's saying, here's women's nature and here's men's nature. No, what I see is don't rely on your own wisdom. And I think that's the problem that a lot of these guys have, is it seems like relying on your own wisdom. And they have a real problem with that because it conflicts with what they believe in. It conflicts with their belief sets.
You don't have to do that.
Of socioeconomic or maybe even relationship failures could be good, but there's a difference with what I'm saying. I'm saying that we're warned against our soul. Jesus Christ commands us to marry one woman. That's it.
Sure. Where is that? Where's that commandment?
Look for it.
Is that the 11th commandment? Commands us to have just where? Where is that? Somebody tell me about it. I'm not being a dick. I just genuinely want to know. I think it's funny because there's a lot of gosh, I need to find that chart. I've got a chart on biblical marriage and what biblical marriage looks like from the Old Testament right up to the New Testament, right? Now, it could be one man, one woman. Then you look at King David, kill your buddy and take his wife. That's okay too, right? Or King Solomon or whatever. He's got 300 wives and 700 concubines. That's biblical marriage as well. There's a whole bunch of examples of biblical. I mean, even Father Abraham, he had 2 wives and how many maidservants? Yeah. Well, that's the Old Testament, Rollo. That doesn't have any bearing right now. Jesus Christ commands us to have one wife, one man, one woman. Where in the what? Matthew, Mark, Luke, John. Where?
Matthew's 5.
Where in the Bible is that? That's what I would like to know. Where's that commandment?
What you were causing me to do was sin against myself, and that's the point I'm trying to get to. It's immoral.
Yeah, I mean, you got to take personal responsibility, bro. Because here's the reality.
No, I do, 100%.
Yeah, so
very publicly, I have in front of over 40,000 people. I've done that.
Yeah, great. But the point I'm trying to make is, I teach guys a skill set. right? If I give you a gun and you shoot yourself in the foot, is that my fault? If I taught you how to properly use it, how to disarm it, disassemble it, you know, how to load the magazine in properly, all that. If I give you the skill set, then you shoot yourself in the foot, right? Is that really my fault? No, I just arm you with the skill set. Then you choose what you want to do with it. Now, obviously, you wanted to go toward a sex escapade, which is, I guess, fine. But the reality is, I armed you with the tools to become an attractive guy, and you utilize that. You can't come back and get mad.
No,
and
you
say,
didn't arm me with that. I became attractive when I followed Jesus. That was it.
Oh, okay. Now it's changing the story.
No, I'm not changing any story. It's one thing.
Well, we know that's not true because he was just saying a little while ago that he had followed what he said, dated multiple women. So he had to have been attractive enough after listening to what Myron was saying to sin against himself. He had to have been attractive enough to get women to want to fuck him after Myron had said what he said. So we already know that you were attractive before you went full Jesus, right? You were already attractive. So you've already contradicted yourself on that.
Thing to be attractive in the sense of gaining sexual partners, but it's a completely different thing to be attractive to someone that wants to marry you and spend their life with you and have kids with you. Those are two completely different sexual attractions. If I walk in here looking like Thor, I'm...
Okay, so this is why most Christian marriages fail. I don't have to like there's a different set of criteria for arousal and attraction in marriage and out of marriage. Like there's two different sets of prerequisites for that, and the long and the short of this is absolutely not. So you got these guys who are like, well, I'm a Christian, so I don't have to worry about staying in shape anymore. I'm a Christian, so I don't have to worry about what I eat. I'm a Christian, so I don't have to worry because we're both on board with the Lord, and she's got to, duty sex and have sex with me because that's what's in the Bible. Don't deny yourselves from each other.
Sounds like 6'2" and shredded. Obviously, I'm going to be attractive to women, but it doesn't mean that that's a relationship that produces value for me and my family.
Okay, what the fuck is value? What would be value? Nail those guys on this. What is value? That's a value. Like that's the most ambiguous bullshit term. It's like saying, just be yourself, bro. What the fuck? What value? What is the value? Well, I could be ripped as Thor and everything, and chicks would be attracted to me, but then I wouldn't be able to start a relationship of value. Okay, explain to me the limitations you have looking like Chris Evans or fucking Chris Hemsworth that would not apply in marriage that would not apply would apply out of marriage that wouldn't apply in marriage. Do you think that your wife would be less appreciative of the fact that you look like Chris Evans or Chris Hemsworth inside your marriage? Do you think she'd go, you know what, we're married now, you don't have to look like that anymore, babe. It's fine. Yes, it's okay. Dad bod's good thing. Let's do that. Do you think that conversation would happen? No, it would. This is like Pollyanna Sesame Street preschool bullshit, man. And what kills me is like guys like this stick their heads back in the sand. They've already seen the truth. He's experienced the truth. He's already been attractive. Is that what this is? Where did it say? Oh, sorry, Sam, that was that. Let me say, the Pharisees also came unto him, tempting him, saying unto him, it is lawful for the man to put away his wife for every cause. And he answered, divorce. He answered and said unto them, have ye not read that which was made at the beginning, made them male and female? Yeah. And said, for this cause a man shall leave his father. Okay. And wherefore there are two, there becomes one flesh. Okay. So this is the commandment. They say unto him, why did Moses command to give a divorce? Okay, see, so, and I understand, and then the rest of this is like, there's no giving of marriage or marriage in heaven. I know that's the scriptural thing, because I've used that before, because I've used this scripture before, Sam, which is to prove that there is no such thing as a soulmate, right? Because once you're in heaven, there's no marriage in heaven. So how do you explain a soulmate, right? So are we to interpret this as a fact that this is like Jesus saying that we should only have one man and one wife, right? Because Moses had a lot of wives, quite a few actually.
Why did Moses? Then I said, why did Moses then command to give a writ of divorcement and put her away? He said unto them, Moses, because of the hardness of your hearts, he suffered to you, put away your wives, but from the beginning it was not so. Okay. So from the beginning it was not so. It was one man, one wife. Okay. All right.
And again, everyone is different, right? For you, it took some time and you found God and you shifted. But the reality is I gave you the skill set and then you choose what you want to do. That's up to you, and you made that decision, not me. I just taught you what to do,
exactly.
how to do it.
It's on me 100%. I'm not placing blame on you. But what I'm telling you, from someone that listens to you, I'm trying to let you know what happens when you speak to people and tell them to do these things.
Here's the other thing, too. Like, now you're operating with 20/20 hindsight. You went through it. You experienced
Correct.
it. You
That's
know.
true.
A lot of guys need to get their hand burned sometimes to figure out how things work. Because let's be honest, men are very stubborn.
Why do they need to do that? If they find a God-fearing woman, they wouldn't do half the stuff you're talking about.
Well, they got...
I love that. If they found a God-fearing woman, well, fuck, man. If I found a fucking pot of gold at the end of the rainbow, yeah. Yeah. If I found a winning lottery ticket on the sidewalk, fuck, yeah. Well, yeah, I guess you have a point.
Here's the thing. Finding a God-fearing woman in today's day and age is a lot harder said than done.
And the skill set and the game and the attraction triggers and everything else that the Red Pill has been saying for 24 some odd years now still apply to your God-fearing woman. They still work, oddly enough. And what's funny is, like, you know, you'll hear women in the church saying, "Oh, you got to let a man lead, right? You got to allow him to lead." Yeah, well, why is that sexy? Why, like, well, the reason when I talk about that, usually it's because women have this presumption that they're the actual authority in the marriage to begin with. But putting that aside, the reason why they get off on guys leading, or they get off on guys like actually stepping up and fucking being a man, is because of the same attraction triggers that you're talking about. The same characteristics, the same physique, the same, you know, go get it done. Attaboy, you know. It's the same shit. Okay. It's not the thing that just gets me is, like, there's this really naive sort of presumption that there's one way that men and women are attracted to each other in the Bible, or in, like, sort of this in this religious world, that is completely separate from the world, the secular world. Like, the same things that make a guy attractive. I mean, what was it? I wrote about this. This is actually in the Rational Male Religion. I talked about 50 Shades of Grey, and how 50 Shades of Grey was very, very popular amongst evangelical Christian women because it was word of mouth. It was a self-published book, and the women who really got behind that, and by the way, the same women who got behind 50 Shades of Grey are the same women that went to go see the Twilight series with their daughters. Because why? Because the same things that made Edward the vampire and fucking Jacob the werewolf fuckable are the same things that they're missing and lacking in their fucking marriages. Same thing with Christian Grey in 50 Shades of Grey. It was very, very popular. In fact, there was I wrote about this. Again, this is in my book, and the reason why I wrote about the phenomenon that was 50 Shades of Grey is because it was like a crisis in evangelical Christian church culture at that time, because the men folk who were still left in the church at the time were so concerned by this that they took it upon themselves as a moral failing of the men that their women were attracted and wanted to watch this quote unquote pornography or read this pornography that was 50 Shades of Grey. And so it wasn't a failing in the women, it was a failing on the part of the men. And by the way, this was not brought on by women in the church saying, "You men have failed us." It's men taking it on themselves, saying that their wives were hot for Christian Grey or whatever. They were reading this stuff, this smut, right? Because they had failed as men. And maybe they're right. Maybe there's something to that. But I love how this, like, self-loathing comes into play whenever women in their own church culture are still attracted to the same things that would be outside of that culture. They still want they want Bruce Wayne. They want Batman, who's this, swarthy Dark Knight maverick, the vigilante.
who also happens to be a multimillionaire, a philanthropist, and an inventor, and has a butler and everything else, has a bat cave, and a mansion, right? It's the total package. He's everything that they want him to be. And the guys just like, you don't get that at Bible study. You don't get that in the church. You get that from the red pill. And that's the thing that really pisses off, I think, a lot of Christian men who are sort of coming to realize this. As I said before, these guys back around like 2013 start looking around their church and saying, where did all the men go? And they're coming to the red pill because there's nothing for them in the church. In fact, the church is actively hostile towards anything that is conventionally masculine. And so what are they going to do? There's nothing here for me. I'm going to go where are the guys going? Oh, the male space that is the manosphere? Okay, sounds good to me. And that's probably what happened to this guy here too. It's like there was nothing for him in the church, and then suddenly there is all of a sudden, it felt wrong. So, and again, I'm hyper aware that the very fact that I'm even critical of this guy makes me sound like I'm the Antichrist. It makes me sound like, oh, that Rollo guy, he must be an atheist. I'm not an atheist. I have a faith in my, oh, well, what is it? Read the fucking book, the last chapter in that book. And I went to great pains to make sure that last chapter was in there. Do me a solid and buy the book and read it, and you'll understand where I'm coming from.
Right. So
I did it.
Yeah, it's a lot harder.
And so did everyone in my whole family. So it's not that hard.
Yeah, that's anecdotal from your perspective.
I love that. It's not that hard. I would love to know what this guy's story is. Like, what does he say was the Who Hurt You podcast that he does with his wife? I would love to see what his wife looks like. Somebody will do that. Like, somebody go check that out. Go look up the Who Hurt You podcast. It's got to be the #1 podcast in South Carolina, right? I wonder what the story is. I wonder if she was a single mom that he wifed up. I wonder if he is like, he's a lot of these guys, like if you look at like what was asked about Tucker Max, right? A lot of these guys come in. Oh, he was planted there. Yeah, he probably was planted there, Sam. I think, well, he was definitely planted there. This is the clip. Because what he's doing right now is I'll guarantee you he's taken this clip and he's probably made different variations of it and put it on his podcast for sure. Who Hurt You podcast?
I can't find them on YouTube.
I gotta figure out who this dude is. But anyways, I'm wondering what this guy's story is. Like how did he come to get? Yeah, he said he knows Fresh, so who knows?
But again, you learned the skill set. You were able to find a wife, and I'm happy about that. But you got to take a little bit of accountability here and understand that you basically got a loaded gun and shot yourself in the foot. And you're trying to blame me for it.
No, I'm not blaming you. Like I said, I take accountability. There's a big difference there.
Okay.
But look, nothing against you. Like I said, I've hung out with Fresh 8 or 9 times recently. I love him, and I think your heart.
I love that. Nothing against you, except everything against you.
Is in the right place. But I just wanted to give you from someone that actually listened to what you were saying to do, read your book, and it didn't work. That's all I was trying to do for you.
But it did work. That's the problem. It did work. It worked well enough for you to bang enough chicks to go, I'm living an empty life and I need to get right with God. It had to have worked somewhat because that's the basis of your entire argument. The basis is I took your advice and I went out there and I had multiple women at the same time and I had sex with, I got my notch count up. So it did work. It worked. Congratulations. It didn't work the way that you wanted it to. Or how do we know this? How do we know that one of the chicks that he was with didn't get knocked up? Mm-hmm. And then he decided that, like the Tucker Max story. How do we know that one of those chicks didn't get knocked up, that is now his wife? They said, you know what, we got to get right with God, baby. Okay, because the baby's on the way. How do we know he didn't get baby trapped? Because that's a common story. Like, I think the presumption is that, well, he stopped living that lifestyle, started praying more, and then a woman just fell into his lap, and then that was happily ever after kind of thing. And I got another baby on the way. I have a child now, and I have a baby on the way. Whose child is the first one? Is it yours, or was she a single mom? See, I want to know what the like. There's a lot left out of this, but there's a lot of yay Jesus. And great, fine. I think there needs to be more of that, but let's do so from a position of sincerity, because that's all you're doing is using Jesus as your fucking human shield.
That's what you're doing because you're too much of a pussy to take it on your own, to take it on your fucking chin. That's why. This is the thing that really, really gets me about like religion, and especially Islam right now. Because when I look and I see like Andrew Tate or I see Sneeko, and they're Muslim on a Monday, and they're out partying with their girlfriends on a Friday, right? Or is Sneeko still a devout Muslim anymore? Is he wearing the frock and the little white, head stuff? No, he's not. And I hate this shit because what happens is influencers take this stuff, which is like sincere religion to most people around the world for centuries, if not millennium, right? And they sit, and you want to talk about people shitting on religion. It's not the red pill that's shitting on religion. It's people who use religion as their firewall for their lack of either self-control or their lack of a fucking argument. And that's what pisses me off. So people go, well, how come Rolla doesn't talk about religion and stuff like? Because it's like personal to me, right? And it should be personal to you too. It should be something that's like, I've never been the guy to like proselytize. I'm not going to knock on your door and say, hey, do you have 5 minutes to talk about our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ? I'm not a fucking Jehovah's Witness, okay? I'm not the guy that goes out there and wears my religion on my sleeve. If you want to ask me about it, I'm happy to tell you about it, right? I thought he worshipped Odin. Maybe. No. But if you read the last chapter in my book, my fourth book in religion, you'll understand. I think you probably will get a lot out of it too, but people just don't want to take time. But the reason why I get really like kind of worked up over this shit is like, I think that your relationship with what you believe is the creator of the fucking universe, like that should be something that's very personal between you. That's something that's like between you and the creator of the universe, right? But no, we're going to use it as a pep rally. We're going to use it as a so we can get more clips on fucking YouTube, right? They're no better than any televangelist of the 80s. There's so many comparisons to, like, if I look at, like, I was watching somebody was sending me some stuff of like Tony Robbins or Gary Vee or Grant Cardone, or I forget who the other guys was. There's a podcast where these like I think they're religious people, and they have their husband and wife, but they got yachts and they got Lamborghinis and date your wife or some shit like that. And I'm just like, I don't think I would put my religion. I don't know if I want to wrap my religion into that, because that sounds a lot. It just comes off very, very grifty. And I think if you have a sincere belief, I would do everything in my fucking power not to make it seem like I'm using it as part of my grift, part of my influencer thing. One of the greatest respects I have for Mike Sartain is Mike Sartain has a belief, but we don't, like, he and I both are kind of cut from the same cloth in that respect, is that we don't really just go around talking about it. Like, you ask him about it privately, he's happy to talk about it. But we don't use it as part of our grift. We don't use it as part of a show. We don't use it as part of a shtick or a clip or some shit like that. And that's a thing that kind of rubs me the wrong way about all this stuff. All right, let me get to these fast. For the record, women are sex objects and so are men. Otherwise, we can't procreate. Yeah, you're right. Women would rather be objectified than idealized. Did the gentleman read Proverbs chapter 21, verse 9? It is better to dwell in a corner in a housetop than to brawling woman. Yeah. I think that's the one I quoted. Why is Joaquin so angry? Joaquin. He had the #1 dating podcast in South Carolina, multiple girlfriends who were submissive, got videos with you, Sartain, Tate, Waller, he did, which are on the members section of his channel. I don't remember this dude. Seems like he won because of Myron. Yeah, probably did. Joaquin. What the fuck is the guy's name? Now I'm going to have to look him up. You guys saying that? Do I have pictures with this guy? I didn't realize I did. Yeah. Well, you might be right. It might be a plant. It could be a plant. I would expect that. You know what? That sounds like something Fresh would put him up to be quite honest with you. kind
God wants you to have the baby.
Definitely not.
Yeah, that was your best grift. I would have thrown this argument. What do you say about King Solomon and how many wives? It wouldn't matter because that would have been like pre-New Testament. Well, the Lord knew his soul. He was working with it. What about when King David killed off what's his name so he could nail Bathsheba? Right? Well, she was like taking a bath while she was like showering, like shower time, like shower porn, man. He found his need for God thanks to Myron. Yep. So could you say that Myron Gaines led that young man to the Lord? I think there's a strong case for that, Myron. Myron Gaines led this man to the Lord in his roundabout way. I mean, like I said, you might take different avenues to get there, but you got there. That's the important part, right? Grifter and Pharisee, the same. Yeah. Always been an atheist, but lately warming to religion, hoping for red pill friends. So I visited a church recently. It bored the hell out of me. Songs suck. The women are feminists in sheep's clothing. Yeah. You know what's going to happen now, dude, is like people are going to see this, John, and they're going to go, well, that's because you need to go to this Eastern Orthodox Christian church. That's what I call the Orthodox paradox. It's like everybody's religion is the right one. Right? And so I included that in, there's actually a section in the introduction of religion about that. It's called the Orthodox paradox. It's no true Scotsman. Well, no real Christian would do this. Oh, those Baptists, they're wrong. Our Eastern Orthodox Convention of 1867, we're the right one. We're the right way to go. Who Hurt You is now defunct. Oh, okay. It's now called Success and Christ. He was with Hannah while he had the old podcast, and they're married now. I would love to know what the background story is on that one, if anybody knows. He's former military, got screwed by his ex, who he has the first kid with. Ah, there we go. Now it all comes to the head. So, did you hear that? Yeah. He's former military, got screwed by his ex. Was she fucking around with him when he was on deployment? How awesome.
He's a joke.
Yeah, he has the first kid with. What happened? That's what red pilled him in the first place. I see. Thank you, Sorralita, for your $2.79. Wow. Yep. See, and this is the shit that like, okay, I don't know if he was a plant, so let's just say the possibility exists, okay? But I'm not picking on Eastern Orthodox. I'm just saying, everybody, it's funny to me like how popular Orthodox Christianity has become in the last couple of years. Because I don't know, man, it just seems a little strange to me. Yeah, that's interesting. Who Hurt You? Okay, her that's not the same one. Author is Hazel Hayes. No, that's not her. 99.9% of the church doesn't teach the whole Bible because money. Yeah. Well, yeah, of course, because that's how do you get tithe checks, man? How do you keep asses in the seats? No, that's, and you know, what's funny is like we still have these guys who want to shit all over the red pill, but they still want to take the parts of the red pill and keep it for their own, right? Who was part of Fresh's CEO network. There it is. There it is. There's the hustle. Wait, thank you. You get one of those. This just in. Oh man, poor Aaron. What's his name? He thought this was legit. Oh man, yeah, that would follow because it seems to me like a lot of this stuff was like clip farming. Like a lot of the stuff that Myron was doing, and Myron was doing a good job too. I no hate on Myron, but yeah, this kind of does seem like clip farming now that I think about it. God, where did it go? Where's that last? Oh, here it is. Who Hurt You is now defunct. It's called Success and Christ. He was with Hannah while he had the old podcast, and they're married now. Former military, got screwed by his ex, who has the first kid with. Yeah, that follows.
That's what red pilled him in the first place. So that's funny. Do you think, now here's my next question. Do you think Myron already recognized this dude and knew what he was going to talk about?
I think, yeah.
Probably.
Yeah.
Yeah. If this is a shtick, then it's a shtick. See, God damn it. Now you got me again, Fresh. Fuck. You got me again. Yeah. Fresh is looking for clips from drama. Yeah, that would not surprise me. Still, I think it's a pretty good essay. Well, in that case, I'll tell you what's not. Let me see if I can find it. This is not. This is the other one I wanted to dig into today. And this is on Tim Pool. Hopefully,
me to
Tim's
be a
cool.
man. Let's just let's get into it.
Yeah, so the first thing to understand, I think, about what it means to be a man is, you've heard of the Manosphere, Andrew Tate, guys like that.
Is he Manosphere?
I love this. You've heard of the Manosphere? Andrew Tate? Can you name anyone else there, Will Spencer? No? Who else? Who else could you possibly name? Who else is like that? I asked you guys for names. Who else do you possibly name?
Yeah. Formerly Manosphere. Manosphere cracked and sank to the bottom of the ocean.
Yeah. It was like 10 years ago. They called it like the red pill subreddits and stuff.
Yes.
10 years ago. No, Tim. Much longer than that.
Now red pill means something different.
Yes. So the Manosphere, it grew popular because it said that what men do. Men build strength, men build wealth, and men acquire women, let's say.
No, that's not what it was about. But that's what Andrew Tate would like you to have thought it was about.
Sleep. The red pill was primarily about the game, based on the game and based on sleeping with lots of girls. Let's put it that way. So that's what men do. But where it gets things wrong about men is that's not what men are for. Men are for protecting women. Men are
fighting bears.
Men are also for that. Yeah,
Yes.
and sharks. Yeah, exactly. So men are for protecting women. Men are for having children. Men are for building strength and wealth and a legacy. So the Manosphere says what men do, but it doesn't say what men are for.
See, so what happens here is now we're looking at applying principles. We're looking for applying meaning. We're purpose, right? And whenever you have somebody saying this is what men are for, it's almost always in service of women, right? So it's almost like, well, they're for having kids and for protecting women and for this, and this is what you were born to do, Buster. And you better shape up. I mean, how many times? Like you don't even by this logic, Jordan Peterson's red pill. Jordan Peterson's part of the Manosphere, right? Because he's saying the same shit. Right? This is what you're for. This is your purpose. And from an evolutionary perspective, when it comes to protection, provisioning, and parental investment, that's the beta buck side of hypergamy. So you're for fulfilling the beta buck side of hypergamy. And hey, if it also suits your purposes too, then great, right? No. You can't think of yourself first. Remember what Charlie Kirk said? No video games for you until your wife is a woman of leisure. And she needs for nothing in her life. And then you can go play Space Marine 2 for half an hour. Yeah?
Have a purpose. Men have a God-given design.
Indeed. Well, so what?
So this is what happens here is when we start talking about stuff like this, when we start talking about like what the purpose is, we're talking about best practices. And this is kind of where I wanted to go with it. I want to stop it right here just for a second. This is actually a pretty short clip. So when I'm talking about the red pill as a praxeology, right? It's what is the phenomenon? What are the dynamics that are happening? What's the behavior? What's the purpose of that behavior? How did it evolve? Why is it still here? Is it something that was still useful to us? Is it not something that's useful to us anymore? And what's the purpose, right? What's the purpose of it? Like the thing is, like, when you're talking to religious people, it's always going to be about whatever their particular ideology is about. Right? Now, I'm of the opinion that there are certain characteristics and there are certain aspects of being a man that are conventional commonalities to men. Right? Masculinity is a set of conventional behaviors that are unique to men, or are, let's say, predominantly, about being a man, right? So, but that doesn't imply function. That doesn't imply purpose. That doesn't imply intent. These are just
This is what a guy does. Men hunt, men kill food and bring it back to the tribe, right? Is that their purpose, or are they doing that because it's a necessity? Right? What about protecting the women folk? Well, if you look at men's like biological imperatives, our purpose is to spread the seed, my friend. Our purpose is unlimited access to unlimited sexuality. Because if you think about it, like especially in our ancestral past, that's way more pragmatic than monogamy, way more pragmatic than but if we can convince enough guys that their purpose and their duty and their, the magic man in the sky is going to get really pissed off at them if they don't stick around and help wifey out. We don't do that, then how do you have social cohesion? How do you raise a very delicate child that is utterly helpless, and the woman who's been nurturing it is utterly helpless? Well, you've got to engender, or in nature some way, into that man the need to protect. And I've said this a million times. Again, another thing that's in the fourth book, it's big head babies, right? Human beings rely on our intelligence. How do we get that intelligence out into the world? Well, we have to have women with very wide hips to birth a child that has a very big head, because we need a lot of brain synapses. We need a lot of brain material. And then those babies are effectively helpless till they're not even self-sufficient until they're like 7, maybe. And so you've got a woman, for our ancestral past anyways, who's more or less an incubator of the next generation. So she's either nurturing a child, or she has one child in hand and nurturing another child, and she's still pregnant, right? And that's, we're talking about way back in the day, when we were in hunter-gatherer societies. So we're still those critters. It's just that we find ways to formalize that and to mythologize why we ought to be married, why we ought to have one man, one woman, why where there's a commandment for Christ that says that only one man, one woman. Well, it's much more pragmatic, at least for men's breeding and for men's biological imperatives, to inseminate as many, ejaculate and evacuate, man, like to inseminate as many women as possible. That's a better deal, especially for a guy who's, I've said this, I pointed this out. I one of the reasons why I know I get ripped off is sometimes I'm quoting somebody and then people will rip me off and say they're quoting me. So I was reading this book. It's really great. It's called Alpha God by Dr. Hector Garcia. He's a evolutionary psychologist, very much a male feminist. So don't hold that against him. He's a consummate statistician, and he's really a really good author anyways. But in Alpha God, one of the things he brought up is that the thing that has defined most primates as well as human males is the powerful males have 3 aspects in common. Okay. So they have territory, they have resources, access to resources, and then they have access to multiple females, generally, hopefully virgins, right? That's why you have like the eunuchs guarding the harem of the caliph or the forbidden city in China, dynastic China, as well as keeping women in a closed off area in tribes in the Amazon rainforest, right? The powerful chieftain, the powerful men have access to more pussy because we want them to breed and create more powerful men. That's the biological function of it anyways. So you want to know why we had polygynous societies for so long, is because it was based on the fact that powerful men had what? They had resources, territory, and an ability to defend it, and access to young, hopefully fertile, virginic, women. That's why they were guarded by eunuchs, right? They don't want anybody fucking their women, right? It's because we want to know that the babies that come out of these bitches right here are the caliphs or the kings or the emperors. We want to know, the chief, whatever. We want to know that those are going to be his progeny because his DNA is powerful because he has all this shit, right? And that's also, by the way, what defines primates like silverback gorillas and chimpanzees. Like if they have access, they will defend territory. You want to know, people say, oh, do chimps go to war? Hell yes, they go to war. And so when you look at the similarities there, You say, okay, well, what makes a guy a high value man? Resources, territory. How many houses does he have? Right? What's his territory? And does he fuck? Those are the things. Because it's more pragmatic. If we have a society that is based or that is for men by men, it's going to be unlimited access to unlimited sexuality for the guys who are the elites, and everybody beneath the elites gets one chick, right? Because they want that guy to you've still got to get laid, right? But they don't want you to have as many at the access that these guys would have. Now sometimes we call this like soft polygyny now, because like what will happen is you'll marry one chick, like Elon Musk, perfect fucking example, right? Look how many kids Elon Musk has. Look how many women that dude has had. Definitely has resources, definitely has the territory, and now has the chicks, right? Now, were they virginic? I don't know. Probably not. Certainly not Ashley St. Clair. But repopulating the earth, he's doing it. What, 14 kids now? Yeah. 14 children. He should be like the pinnacle of like tradcon Christian men. He's repopulating the earth. He's single-handedly doing his job to end the fertility crisis. But that's the pragmatic way of doing it. But when we think about things in terms of like, what's a man's purpose? Well, if you're in a monogamous society and you're a guy that doesn't fuck, it behooves you to tell everybody else, one man, one woman. It behooves you to say, our purpose is to protect women and to fulfill their biological destiny. Because really what you're doing is by declaring that, you're saying, I'm on board with the female experience and not the male experience. Now, do we need men to be fathers? Yes, of course we do. Do we need women to be mothers? Yes. Do we need them to be involved parents? Yes. Do we need them to protect them? Yes. Got it. I'm not saying any of that, but I'm pointing out the dynamics here, because these guys are presuming something without ever questioning it whatsoever. Guys who don't fuck talk like this, right? They don't understand that it's far more pragmatic for a guy to spread the seed, because if he's his imperative, then that's where we go with it. If a woman is the operative experience in this culture, then your purpose as a man is to serve woman. That's all it comes down to. Now, you'll notice that none of these guys say, oh, what, it's a woman's purpose to suck her man's dick. Like she lost her keys in it.
What's happening? I mean, why are we in this very obvious to everyone phase where families are broken and people aren't having kids?
Well, because families have been broken for quite some time. I think one area, obviously there's the economic situation where obviously it's difficult for someone who is older Gen Z or even a millennial like myself affording a house. It's very difficult to. And not being able to purchase a home kind of slows you down with building a big family, even if you want it to happen. But I do think there's an element of the millennials, the Gen Zs, they've seen what dysfunction looks like within their own home, and that is scary. It is scary because they saw mom and dad fighting, or they saw dad not in the home. They saw constant dysfunction. And so to them, the idea of marriage and the idea of having children seems like a massive risk.
Let me step in here and chime in as a Gen Xer here. My parents split up when I was 9. So it's not just unique to millennials and Gen Zers. I know you guys think the whole world revolves around you, but Gen X has been known to be called the latchkey generation. That's me. Raised ourselves. Dysfunction in the family. Dysfunction is like no family. like just go and go. Like rather than fight, they just leave. Gen X, yeah, we're known for being the latchkey generation. So let's don't think this is some new development, brother.
And it is a fear that they don't want to come anywhere close to, because they don't want to repeat what they saw at home. And often we repeat the behavior that we were surrounded by. So I do think that that's a big element of fear that is stopping this from happening. And now in social media era, we have propaganda, right? So we have propaganda that backs up that fear. Don't do it, and here's why. And obviously we can point at like divorce rates, right? But these are all things.
Divorce rates aren't propaganda. That's data. Understanding, like listening to James Sexton tell you the stats and the figures and all of the greatest hits about divorce and marriage, that's data.
That's not propaganda. That's just simple data. It's helping you decide whether or not this is an institution that you now want to be involved in. And that's like sort of referring back to the guy that was at University of South Carolina with Myron Gaines. So you went through all of this hell and you went through all of this stuff so that you could sign up for an institution that only succeeds 50-ish% of the time, and that you're putting yourself on the line for. I think he should know better than this because he was already with that one chick who cheated on him, had a kid, right? So praise the Lord, man. Let's go get married again. Sounds like a good idea. You know, well, I don't know if he's his second marriage or his first marriage, but let's just, presuming it's his second marriage, something like 65 or 67% of second marriages fail, and third marriages is like 70 some odd percent after that. It's not like, the thing that gets me about this is like, I think a lot of people are like, you got these guys who are like, come on, man, get married. It's like, well, just sell me on it, man. Tell me why this is great. You know, the thing is like, I could probably, based on my own experience with my wife and my life and everything else, I should be like waving a banner. I should be out here going, yes, you should get married, young man. It worked for me. It should work for you. Imagine me saying that, right? Because one size fits all. And if it worked for me, it works for anybody. Same thing is exactly the same thing that dude said in the other video. Well, my whole family did it. It's easy. Anybody could do it. It's just like, falling down. Oh, so that's the thing is like people like, I mean, maybe I should just answer this later on, but like people say, well, what's the secret to your 30-year? Well, it's not 30, 29-year marriage, Rollo. I could give you lots of advice. I could tell you what worked for me. I can't tell you what will work for you, but I can tell you what worked for me. And if you want to try to like simulate that, hey, more power to you. But I will be the first one to tell you, like, people will say, well, Rollo's, he's down on marriage. He hates marriage. Like, how he must have a horrible marriage because he's always talking shit about marriage. It's like, well, no, I'm being real with you. If anything, you should like be like happy that I'm being sincere with you. Instead of like going, yeah, guys, you should all get married. Like, no, I'm going to tell you the fucking reality. I'm going to shoot straight with you. I'm going to give you the real fucking deal, man. Just because I did well doesn't mean you're going to marry well. I mean, I can tell you, point you in the right direction, but.
To affirm the fear that people already have. Someone like myself who wanted to get married, those divorce rate stats, you made me aware, but that's not going to stop me because this is something that I wanted to pursue. So the people who are on the edge, who are a little bit scared, the propaganda element is something that is actually slowing them down. Okay.
Notice that he uses the term scared. How many guys are scared to get, like, everybody should want to get married, but you're just scared. Now, how about this? How about we're like cautious? How about we're like trying to figure shit out? How about we're trying to decide whether the institution of marriage as it is in the 21st, I mean, we are in the, 24 and a half years into the 21st century. Trying to figure shit out, trying to figure out relationships, trying to figure out marriage, trying to figure out all this stuff. It's not scare. It's not fear. These guys got nothing to lose. If anything, you would think that they would be lining up around the block. Like, oh, I get fucking pussy? No problem. All what I got to do, sign my name on this contract? No problem. Why are they hesitant to do that? Oh, it's scared. No, they're not scared. It has nothing to do. Nobody wants them. They're not eligible. Marriage is for elite dudes right now. Eligible bachelors are guys who make half again or more than the woman that they're with. Otherwise, they're not even applicants. 6 feet tall, right? Like I saw somebody, what was it? It was on was it TikTok Confessions or maybe it was a Reddit thing where like this chick was saying like, I'm so glad my now husband lied on his Hinge profile because he said he was 6 foot tall and he's actually 5'11", and she would have not even considered him if he hadn't lied. And now they're getting married. Let that fucking sink in, man. Let that hit you in the face. It's all perception. It's all smoke and mirrors, man. And that's what you're dealing with. This is the 21st century. We don't live in fucking happy days anymore. We don't have sock hops. We don't meet at the county fair anymore.
Okay, we meet online, or we meet in clubs, or we certainly check each other out and make sure we're qualified on Instagram. Like, catch up, man. I'm fucking 57 years old, and so many people are saying, "Oh, really? He's old. He's a grandpa. He's not hip. He doesn't do anything. He doesn't know anything about the dating thing. He's only seen the same pussy for the last 29, 30 years." Blah blah blah. I know enough to know that we don't fucking do fucking dating like Happy Days anymore. I know enough that we don't do fucking, sock hops and, trust me, man. It's unbelievable how much shit I get for like, oh, he doesn't have any receipts. Well, I've been married for 29 and a half years. Okay, well, is that a receipt now, or is that not a receipt? Because I'm confused.
Yeah, I think it's true. Divorce courts favor women.
Right.
No fault divorce has turned marriage into dating.
Right.
People no longer view their oath as an oath. You go before a priest or a judge or however you've done it, and you're swearing an oath. Now it's just kind of viewed like we're going steady now, and then at any point you could be like, you know what, I'm not feeling it. Let's leave.
Yeah, it's not about an oath. Like, I love this thing. Is like we go back to the 15th century. I love Tim. Don't get me wrong, but like, dude. No one is living in your world anymore. No one. Oh, you take an oath. People don't take an oath seriously anymore. Yeah, they haven't taken it seriously since the 1600s, man. You know why? Because we have a legal system where you have to sign something now. Like, I remember watching, what was it? I know what it was. There's the series Outlander. My wife loves that thing. I watch it because of the historical stuff. It's okay. I mean, basically, it's a romance novel, but it's got a little bit of like time travel, and it's got history in it too. It's about the Scottish guy who gets with this older chick, which of course man, I could do a full show on Outlander and just like dissect this thing. But anyways, I digress. But anyway, so I remember parts of the show where the guys are like shaking hands and they're going, "Do I have your word?" Yes, I have my word. And back then, that had to mean something. Like, you had to have, because there was no legal recourse, certainly in various echelons of society, right? Like in various classes of society, because there was no signing on the dotted line. There's no, I promise to pay X amount of dollars for this car for this amount of time, right? No, just shake your hand. You're going to get the money. Don't worry about it. My word is bond. Imagine you go to the used car dealership and you go, "Oh, how much is the down payment, sir?" "Oh, it's $1,200. Okay, here's your money. Okay. Well, now you have to sign all this stuff." No. Handshake is all we need to do. My word is bond. I'm going to make sure that I'm going to come down here every day and every end of the month and give you the money. Even if you did it, right? No one care. Nobody's going to do that. Oh, to shake your hand, I'm going to say, okay, the money's going to be there no matter what. Whether I have to have somebody send it to you or it's going to be coming out of the bank, it doesn't matter. I don't need to sign any of that. I don't have to put my name on that. Why would you want? My word is bond. Because back in the day, your word had to be bond. Your word, your oath, your promises, your vows, they really fucking meant something.
That was your value.
But exactly, because there were no contracts. Yeah. There was no sign it right here. And who taught me this was James Sexton, because James Sexton was saying, most people get into a marriage and they don't understand the legal ramifications of getting into that marriage. They understand their title to their house, their mortgage to their house, or the paperwork they have to do. They have to sign to get make payments on their car. They understand those. They'll read that, but they have no earthly idea of what the legal ramifications are for them getting into a marriage. I agree to pay so and so if this doesn't work. People say, "Well, just get a prenup." You're getting a prenup no matter what. You either have a prenup with the state or you have a prenup with your wife before you get married. You either agree or you do some sort of arrangement with her, or your prenuptial agreement defaults to the state and you lose. You automatically lose. So you already have a prenup. The prenup is, I'm just going to let the state figure it out for me. That's what it comes down to. And now Jim Sexton was just telling me not too long ago that he's starting to see these cases where when a very rich guy wants a woman to sign the prenup, the woman will go to her lawyer and have the prenup altered so it benefits her if he fucks up. Like, she'll have him write in like certain things. So now a prenup actually favors the woman.
It's not shtick. If it was, he would have taken down all the podcasts and scrubbed "Who Hurt You" from the internet. He went 180 for whatever reason. Okay, so you think that it's not a shtick? Okay, for the guy at USC, I mean, of South Carolina, not Southern California. The assumption online is that most men meet women through cold approach, which I don't think was ever true. Yeah, but probably far less than any people would like to make it out, except for maybe a blip in time, PUAs and rom-coms. You have shows about this? No, but I probably should. Cold approach versus social, like who was saying this? It was Orion Taraban lifting Mike Sartain, by the way. Like the 4 ways of people meet each other these days. Social circle game. Cold approach, forget the other ones, but he said there's 4 ways. What's the most efficient way? But I don't have anything on cold approach per se. I mean, do you want me to do something on cold approach? I could. Online is, yeah. I've never done a show about that, but I probably should. Space Marine 3 is announced. I know, I saw. God, man, I'm not even through 2 yet. Come on. They keep putting out bonus material, man. Now you got to kill a Trigon. I'm like, oh, I love this game. And it's like, okay, I'm really going to go bougie on you here. I have an 82-inch screen. And I have a cinema screen. I love my surround sound. I just usually get it for movies and shit like that. But let me tell you, it is quite the experience to play Space Marine 2 on that rig, man. Oh. No shtick. Fresh called Donovan's show last week, proclaimed he, Fresh, did not know the guy at USC would do what he did. The guy was part of Fresh's group. Yeah, and I'm sure Ling Ling was not a plant either. You said you could do a full show on Outlander. Could you do a full show on Krull? You're goddamn right. You're goddamn right. Yes, I could do a full show on Krull. People don't know the greatness of Krull. You don't even know what I'm talking about. It was a cult hit during 1983. It was like the tri-skill. You throw the thing. God, I want one of those. You ever want to know what to get me for a birthday? Get me that little weapon with the blades that you throw in. That's what I need. Warglaive. Yes. You know Krull? Did you watch Krull? Have you seen Krull?
I've watched clips, but I've never seen
Krull. Is the epicness. Please don't make a remake of Krull. It's perfect the way it is. Yes. And Flash Gordon, do not make a remake of Flash Gordon. It is absolutely perfect the way it is. You cannot improve upon either of those movies. Okay, let's put you.
And so I think no-fault divorce has been disaster. I think issues like that have terrified young men. You do mention the propaganda, but a lot of these young men are just there's too many stories where a dude works his whole life, buys a house, builds a family, and then he's 43 and his wife says, I'm leaving you, takes the kids and kicks him out. And now he's bachelor.
Yeah, just like all the guys in my Reignite group.
Dishonored, shamed, with no access to his kids. And so there's a lot of young guys being like, man, better to be single and traveling around and doing whatever you want than find yourself in that circumstance. I'm curious what do you think about this?
Well, I think anything good in life takes risk, right? And that includes relationships. But I also think that a lot of young men, especially someone like myself, where I grew up without my father, I didn't know how to pick a woman. I didn't have a father or even a household relationship to mimic. It's very easy to end up with women. Yes, they'll sleep with you. Yes, they'll make babies with you and they'll live in the house that you provide for them. But are they women of character?
So now we're going to qualify shit here. Women of character. Let me put that there. There we go. So now we're going to qualify shit. I have a post that is called male standards, why men can't have standards. And it I looked up this old post, and I guess maybe Sam, if you want to look it up, that's fine. But it's basically about why men are not allowed to have standards
really these days. The thing that made me go back sort of through my archives to read this was because of the conversation, well, the conversation such as it was, the back and forth between Andrew Wilson and Tommy Lahren, and why it is that, or was it Megyn Kelly as well, right? Why is it that women are allowed to have this laundry list of prerequisites for a guy, but if a man has any kind of standards, he's a misogynist immediately, right? Well, I answered that back in like 2019 when I was writing this. It's a very lengthy article too. But one of the things I think that a lot of women presume when it comes to men making choices for women, like picking women, like I love, the thing that gets me is like, these guys don't look like guys that fuck. Okay. They're not picking anybody. They're getting, they're defaulting to whoever sucked their dick first, more or less. I don't say these guys in particular, but most guys, if you look at just law of averages, let's check this out. When we talk, yeah, thank you for that. Put that truth about standards. Go ahead and put that in the chat for me, if you would, Sammy. But most guys don't pick. They don't vet. And I love it when these guys are like, well, the reason why I'm married and I've got a great life is because I chose the right one. It's like, the thing that kills me about this is like, if you are like, what about Steven Crowder, right? I'm just going to use him as a quick example here, because this is a guy who wrote a very high profile article like the day after he got married and say, hey, you can still do this. You can still have you can still find your virgin wife, because apparently his wife Hillary was a virgin when they met. They met at like, I don't know, church camp or some shit like that. And he was very outspoken about the fact how they did everything right. They were high school sweethearts or whatever, and they got together, they got married, and they stayed virgins until their wedding night and everything. See, it can work for you too, guys. And why? Because he picked the right one, right? He picked the right girl. No, he didn't, because the right girl can become the wrong girl after a while. And that's the thing that gets me is like, but when we come down to like, well, why is this guy lonely? Why is he divorced? Why is he, what's the reason for the separation? What's the reason for the friction between the two of them? We're always going to look at the guy. We're going to say, what did he do wrong? Is he not leading in the house? Is he not doing this? Or we will retcon things and say he chose the wrong girl. He didn't vet. He didn't see the red flag. You didn't see the red flags? You didn't know she was a fucking stripper, an OnlyFans girl? You should have seen those red flags, right? You shouldn't marry that girl. You read the Bible, and the Bible will give you wisdom, and you won't want to go and fuck the OnlyFans girl, right? You won't want to get with the single mommy. Or will you? Right? What if her name is Nala Fit and she decides that she wants to have a change of heart and get baptized? Then is she right? Then is she now a quality woman? I mean, technically she should be. Michael Knowles certainly thinks she is. But the thing that gets me is like, I love this bullshit when it comes down to, well, we don't have anybody to teach us to pick the right girl. Well, first of all, you're not picking anybody. 80% of guys are deemed unattractive. So, and I would put this guy in the 80 percentile. Maybe when he was younger, maybe he could have been in the 20th, right? But I will tell you right now, and I'm not trying to gloss myself or anything here, but I would say right now, 80% of guys simply don't qualify to be picked, much less pick anyone themselves. So we got to take that into consideration. Law of averages, 80% of guys are not going to be picked. That's not to say that those guys can't in some way find a way to get married and, have or reproduce or whatever. But the thing is when we're talking about picking or vetting or making a choice of a mate, if you're in that 80th percentile, odds are you're not making a choice. The choice has already been made if you're getting anything at all, right? The 20th percentile, well, you've got to have value added. You're not attractive, but you're not unattractive like those 80 percenters. So what do you have that sort of lifts you above the crowd? Well, are you rich? Are you talented? Are you funny? Or is there some other redeeming quality that you have that has value added to you? Well, then that's what she's about, right? That's what she fell in love with. You're still not picking. She's the one still picking you. That's why I keep telling these guys. Well, I'm repeating Roosh here. This is not even my line.
Roosh has been on record as saying that, like, remember when people will say, what is it? Women are the gatekeepers of sex and men are the gatekeepers of commitment. No, they're not. Women are the gatekeepers of commitment as well, especially right now. They're the gatekeepers of both. And they're unless you happen to be in the 4.5 percentile, unless you happen to be a Justin Waller of the world, unless you happen to be the elite level guy, you're not picking. And those guys, when they are picking, they're not picking marriage. The men that women will share, the top tier alphas, the guys that women go, you know what? I know he can fuck other women. I know he has other options. I'm willing to tolerate that. I'm willing to share him because I know at some point I'm going to have his babies, or I know at some point he'll fall in love with however they want to, justify it to themselves. But the fact of the matter is those guys, maybe they're picking. Those guys, if they decide to get married at all, they're the ones that are going to do the choosing. And are they even vetting those women to make an educated, biblically wisdomed choice? Probably not. Most men get married because the chick is there, not because they vetted. Like, people ask me, well, Rollo, what did you do to vet your wife? I didn't. I vetted myself. I said, is this the kind of woman that I can be faithful to? I've said this a million times. I told, like, Rich Cooper was the first person to ask me this. I said, I didn't vet her. I vetted myself because I knew what was at stake. I'd just come out of a really bad, the BPD relationship. I just come out of that. And I'm like, I know me. I've seen me do it. Is this somebody that I can be faithful, that I can have sex with for the rest of my life? And the answer was yes. I'm glad to say it's still the same, right? And then after that, then we move on from there. Then we go, okay, well, she comes from a good family. Yeah, I'm in love with her. I really dig her. I remember, Kai, asking my dad one time. Only time I ever asked him this too. And I was, because I was talking about my mom. Yep. And my mom and my dad they are the most unlikely parents you would have ever suspected, right? My mother died as a confirmed Catholic, but she was like mostly evangelical Christian most of her life. My mom is a ditz. She was a lovable ditz. She was funny. She was clever. She was, very like sentimental. I love my mom, like for those reasons, right? She was, she gave me that side of it, right? My dad, very analytical, atheist, very critical, a critical thinker, definitely a secular humanist, definitely like nuts and bolts, no nonsense. I think Vox Day would call him a Delta, right? Mm. I'm like, how the fuck did these two people ever get together, and produce me and my brother, like, not once, but twice, right? And I asked my dad, I said, what on earth has ever possessed you to marry mom, right? And he looked at me square in the face. He goes, it seemed like a good idea at the time. And I'm thinking, whenever somebody says, well, you got to pick the right one, I think back to when my dad said that. Seemed like a good idea at the time. I will guarantee you, both of these guys who got with their wives seemed like a good idea at the time. They weren't vetting for shit because they were with whoever would give them pussy, whoever would suck their dicks. Maybe I can make. Well, she wouldn't be sucking my dick if she wasn't the one.
They actually want the things that you want, or are you just marrying the first woman who slept with you for a long time? Mm-hmm. And often I've listened to, obviously there are legitimate stories. These guys are great guys and the woman's doing X, Y, and Z. Anytime I make a mistake, I try to look at, all right, but what's my part? Where is the red flag? Because in all these situations, there's some sort of red flag. And if I find out that in your story, well, she used to be a stripper. And it's like, well, that's very high risk, right? You can't.
Yeah, but is that a red flag? Really? Because like when you look at like these like reformed like OnlyFans girls, dude, that's like a youth pastor's dream come true. It's like, oh yeah, she used to be in porn, but now Jesus saved her, and now we're doing youth outreach ministry and trying to dissuade girls from doing OnlyFans and stuff like that. But man, she fucks the shit out of me at night.
Like, don't be mad that this is the outcome that you got. Like, there's usually something that they overlooked because they didn't know. Not that these men are bad. They didn't know what to look for in a quality woman.
No, they know what to look for. They're not finding it. That's just it, right? The red flags. If you said, you know what, well, she was a former, like most of these guys will be happy to overlook that. Are you kidding? That's not even a consideration, man. That's a fucking green flag. That's a boon. Oh, she loves the Lord and she sucks a mean dick. Fuck yeah. I'm the luckiest man alive. Thank you, God, for bringing me the one. You know, yeah, they're happy to overlook that. It's not even overlooking. It's not even looked. It doesn't even register. It doesn't bump the needle, man. Are you kidding?
And in many ways, for some women, they don't know what to look for in a quality man, right? So there's a demonstration of what a healthy relationship looks like that they're lacking because they didn't see it at home. And honestly, for a lot of these guys who are really fixated on Manosphere red pill type of content, the good content that comes from the Manosphere red pill is actually stuff that your father would have told you.
Mm-hmm. The true stuff.
Yeah, the true stuff.
See, that's the pick and pull shit right there. Like, we want everything that like would make you a better man. That's okay. But when we talk about anything that is unflattering about women, that's when we don't want to have anything to do. Right? How about this? How about like you like date non-exclusively? Like one thing that gets me is I think a lot of people don't realize this, but if you read in my first book, which please go get it from Amazon. People always point out was the Iron Rule of Tomasi number 3, which is like anytime a woman makes you wait for sex, the sex is never worth the wait. That is not an endorsement for fucking anything on 2 legs. Okay, that is not people read that and they think that I'm saying that the goal to life is to fuck as many women as humanly possible. That is not what that is about. In fact, if you read that entire essay, if you read that entire chapter that's in that book, towards the end of that, I make very clear. I said, if you are of a religious persuasion and you're not the kind of guy who wants to fuck all these girls, or plate theory, like when guys are dating non-exclusively, you're spinning plates. I didn't say fuck all the plates. Make sure you fuck every single plate. That never. You can find me that quote, please. Somebody C&P that for me, because that does not exist in there. In fact, the thing is I say exactly the opposite. I said, if you are of the persuasion where you don't believe in premarital sex, or you don't have you're hesitant, let's just say, to really sort of turn your turn your red pill knowledge into make you a fucking machine, right? Then you don't have to be fucking all these chicks, but you do have to keep all of them on a burner, right? Keep them spinning. It's not about the sex. It's about the desire. It's about who wants to fuck you. It's about who wants to be in your life. It's about who wants to be intimate with you. It's about the genuine desire and determining that genuine desire. Sometimes, often, that involves sex. Got it? In modern 21st century dating, it's about fucking. Yeah, it is. But it doesn't have to be. So is the red pill wrong about this from a Christian perspective? No. In fact, I built that into that chapter. You don't have to be fucking all your plates. In fact, I would hope you wouldn't be, because it means you're determining who you want to keep as a plate and who you don't. And then people also don't understand this. If you go to the last chapter in the 6-part series of plate theory, it's transitioning. It's called transitioning. It's called transition. Transitioning from dating non-exclusively to dating with one girl, or dating with intent, or whatever the fuck you want to call it, right? So there is sort of a method to the madness there. But people don't quote that. They want to hear that. They want those red pill guys tell you to fuck anything. No, we don't. Not this red pill guy. But you don't want to hear that because it's easier you don't make any money off of that and you don't get any clicks. What?
Well, for one, confidence is incredibly important, right? Not to chase women, although some of these guys tell you.
And where does confidence come from, brother? It comes from options. And you have to develop those options. And you have to have multiple options so that you can have confidence when you're deciding on which one you want.
To chase women, or at least to buy women. So
I'm sick of this shit where it's like chase. So yeah, chase women. You make it sound like we're fucking on like the playground, like trying to grab Susie's fucking pigtails in 4th grade, man. Like, no one's chasing, especially not now. Guys don't like, what was the percentage of guys who are like, haven't even approached a woman and you're worried about them fucking chasing? Get the fuck out of here, man.
It really depends on who you go towards. But the good stuff is build up yourself and the women will follow.
In what way? Get yoked? Okay. Make money? Yeah. but don't make too much money. You get yoked, make money, so you'll be more acceptable for her. Yes.
Show yourself to be a man of character, and the women will follow. When you chase women,
what does that entail? What makes a man of character? Anybody? Bueller?
and then you end up with the wrong woman.
You know what I find fascinating is that
See, I love that. You end up with the wrong woman. That's retconning right there. That's religious retconning. Well, you Steven Crowder, you just picked the wrong woman.
Western civilization, which many of these guys purport to love, not all of them, but a lot of guys in the United States view the West as inherently superior. It's completely built upon monogamy and a family-based moral tradition. I don't understand how you simultaneously have some of these red pill guys that are saying, bang as many women as possible and don't get married.
Who, Tim? Stop right there, sir. Hands behind your back. Spread your legs. Who, Tim? Who, motherfucker? Who are you talking about? Please tell me. These red pill guys tell you to have any sex with anyone. Who? Who's saying this, Tim? Who? I need a name.
While also trying to argue that we should be upholding and defending the values of the West.
Right. Because they're existing in a post-sexual revolution context. That's
who? Egghead.
The world that they live in. They're still conceiving of relationships based on how things began in the 1960s, which is that sexual expression is the most important thing you can do with your freedom. And so the advice that I also hope fathers would give.
No, and the only reason that's facilitated was one technology. It's called hormonal birth control. And the reason why everybody did that is because I'm going to quote Kyle. I'm going to quote a wise philosopher, a wise scholar from the 1980s. His name was David Lee Roth.
Okay.
And David Lee Roth once said, everybody wants some. That was the greatest quote by David Lee Roth. Everybody wants some. Want some? Get some. It's true. Everybody wants some. And it's never been easier to get some after hormonal birth control. Okay. That's the thing that kills me about all this stuff is like these guys are, well, I explored my sexuality, or I had this meaningless sex with multiple women because of Myron Gaines. Yeah. You know why? Want some? Got some. You wouldn't be doing it if you didn't want to do it. Oh, men need to be monogamous. Want some? Get some. That's what it is.
Is don't have sex before marriage, because as soon as you start sleeping together, all the hormones get activated, the blinders go on, you fall in love, and you completely lose sight of who the person is. This is a person you're going to make a binding lifelong commitment to. And if you can't be sober during that process, you have no idea who you're actually going to end up married to. And then you end up married and you discover that they're not who you thought they were after 6 months of romantic intoxication. No, you have to stay sober through that process. And
well, you know what's even more sobering? It's when you don't have sex with that woman, you marry her, you get into a relationship, or you marry her, and you have sex with her on your wedding night, and she's starfish sex, and she doesn't know what to do, and you are like, what did I sign up for? You just basically put your name on a binding contract. This is probably the worst contract in history. All downside risks for men based on the hope that the chick that you met at Bible camp is going to turn into a porn star on your honeymoon. Congratulations, you played yourself. Like, what's the, there's a like, I love it when guys are like, oh, well, it's just these guys just want to get their rocks off, or women do too. You know, what I said about David Lee Roth applies to chicks as well, just as much. And while I understand what he's saying, like in a perfect world, that's how it should be, right? Well, I'm going to have this wonderful cosmic sexual experience with my now wife on our honeymoon, on our honeymoon evening, our wedding night, and it's going to be awesome. And she's a lick it around the edges girl, right? She's not into it with. I think one of the you Christian guys, if you want to vet your woman, get her to the point where she wants to fuck you so bad that she's willing to break her rules.
Seriously. Get your woman to the point where she's ready to renounce her religion because she is so hot for you. You can get her to that point, you warm her up to that point, and you can back off of it, and you have the self-control to wait till your wedding night, then you might be in the right ballpark. But most guys don't even do that. It's like they think that, like, what is it? Reasoning her into bed is actually a thing, or let's read the Bible, and then that's gonna really get you hot. No, it's not. And the thing that kills me about this is like the idea of turning a house flower, turning your little wallflower church girl into, Riley Reid. She's not going to be this sexual, lusty animal for you. I mean, how would you know? Unless have you even gotten to the point where you're like, oh, we're going to do everything but we're going to start soaking, right? Maybe the Mormons are onto something, right? Where the desire is so genuine and so intense. Like that's the thing that gets me about these guys is like, these are guys who are saying this from being married already, right? So you're never going to hear me say this. I had sex before I got with my wife. My wife had sex before she got with me. Simple as that. We've never fucked around. Nobody's ever cheated on it. We've only had sex with each other for the last 30 some odd years now, right? But there was a time where my notch count got up to 41. I don't know what people go, well, what's your wife's notch count? As far as I know, probably 4, but you say, okay, double that, right? Still, I think we're batting 1,000. We're doing really good. We still have really good hot monkey sex. We really are into each other at our late stage in life. I love it when I'm on Access Vegas and I hear these chicks who are like, they work at the club, they work at Sapphire, they work at the Hippo or something like that. And they go, oh man, I can't imagine being with somebody that long. Like, doesn't it get boring? Blah, 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 blah. And I'm just like, and I was like, I gave away my age the other day too. They go, when was the first time you voted, Rolo? And I'm like, let's see, Bush won. How old are you? Like they don't even know who Bush 1 is, right? They know Clinton. They don't know who came before Clinton, right? Yeah. So, but like, I love it when my wife gives me I come home from the show and she's like, I know what, like she gives me that look. I go, yeah. Because like it is entirely possible to stay in shape and look good and to still want to have sex with your wife and your husband. It just requires a lot of effort, and you have to love each other and desire each other enough to put out that effort. I'm in better shape than, well, damn near everybody I've all known since high school. I know that, right? I'm in better shape. Like the older you get, the more being in shape is a flex, right? It's nice to be able to go to, Babes in Toyland or Bunny Ball and be attractive to other women. My wife likes the fact that I'm attractive to other women, right? Because that's a compliment to her. She's with a guy that women like half my age want to fuck. Fuck yeah. She's like happy about that. Now she's, it still kind of rubs her the wrong way if I go too far with it, but like, hey, it is what it is. Like, this is what I do. But, yeah, I think that would throw a lot of guys off. I get this a lot because, like, if ever I show, right, like I put pictures of myself and maybe Mike or something at Bunny Ball or at Babes in Toyland or something like that, I guarantee you within the first like 6 comments, there's going to be some TradCon female chick on there goes, isn't he married? Does his wife know? Bitch, how long do you think I've been doing this? I remember doing let's see, it was back in the day when Myron and Fresh would take pictures of like me or whoever was on the after hour show, and all the girls would be there and it'd be on the balcony of the over Biscayne Bay. And like I'd be there and they would put that as the thumbnail and somebody would throw that up there and go, is this Rolo? Does his wife know he's doing it? Like they're gonna rat me out to my wife or something like that.
My God.
Jeez, man.
Till the very end, so that you make sure that when you're making a covenant, a binding commitment to this woman or this man, that you really know who they are.
I think there's one answer to all.
Do you really know who someone is until you fuck them?
No.
No.
I'll be honest now.
Well, I mean, like, what do they say? Remember
forget which. I think it might have been the second Matrix movie. Remember when Seraph fights Neo?
Yes.
And he's like, he defends the Oracle, right? And he says, you don't really know a person until you fight them.
Yeah,
I think that's I think that's what that honestly I think that's pretty more profound than people really want to admit. You don't know a person until you fight them, until you like in the sparring, you're sparring with them, or you're like they're trying to like fuck you up, right? They're trying to actually do physical damage to you. Honestly, I've said before, like there's only two events in a human being's life when you really know the other person, and that's when you're naked and you're fucking them, or you're fighting them. You're actually like coming to blows and throwing punches at them. Like I know good friends of mine who like I actually got into fist fights with, who are still very good friends of mine after the fact, right? You know, hey, we got out of our system, right? But you don't really know a person until you fight them or you fuck them. And obviously, if you're getting into a relationship, it's probably fucking them. I should certainly hope it's fucking them.
All of it, and it's go to church.
Yes, Christ, yeah.
And again, I always stress this because I'm not a Christian, but it's a function of logic. If you are so there's a couple components here. Birth control, very, very, very prevalent, and it affects how women think and how they.
Okay, so he's going to go into like sort of like the way that like birth control alters women's sexual selection process, which is true. Like I'll give him that. But the thing that kind of the point he misses is that the technology of birth control is directly responsible for the fertility rates. It's directly responsible for the dating situation that we find ourselves in the 21st century right now. He's going to ignore that. I don't know why, but I mean, maybe it's just an oversight. But like the thing is the technology of handing the human reproductive system over to one sex is unprecedented in human history. So a woman who takes the pill, she's the one who gets to decide. And then of course she decides also abortion, right? So you're essentially handing eugenics, the power of eugenics to one sex, and that's the female sex. What happens when you do that? What does society look like when you do? We're still in this experiment. He was mentioning the sexual revolution and everything else. We're still in that experiment right now. So we're looking at a society by women for women. We're looking at a religions by women for women. We're looking at politics by women for women. We're looking at psychology by women for women. We're looking at a workplace by women for women. We're looking at an economy by women for women. So what does that look like? We're still figuring this out. Again, you will find this in my fourth book called Religion on Amazon. Go get it now.
They smell you.
That's right.
So they've done this research that when a woman gets off birth control, the man smells different to her, and she may not like it. So if you're a guy and you're living in New York, Chicago, LA, Boston, some big city, and you're 20 years old and you meet a woman for the first time at 20, likely she will be on birth control. And I'm not saying she shouldn't be or there's anything wrong with that. I'm saying you both should understand what's going to happen if she comes off of that. If you're going to start a long-term relationship, she should probably stop taking birth control so that you can understand whether or not there's actual compatibility. But the bigger issue.
In what world does she stop taking birth control when you're in a relationship? If you're married and you want to have kids, and you sat down and say, hey, I think it's time to have kids, then yeah, you might have a point. But in what fucking world, like you're in a relationship, she gets off the pill? That's come on, Tim.
I think with this is that
spending too much time in the countryside.
Relationships throughout the past several thousand years, probably longer, but you grew up in the same way as your spouse.
That's right.
Now I think one of the big problems is you're going to be from New York. You're going to go to school in Boston. You are 20 years old, meaning you're an adult already, and you meet a woman and your lives are completely different.
Right.
You're from an inland area where you grew up in the woods and the mountains. She's from the coast where she went boating. You have very little in common, but college. Now you're at college, you have similar professors, and so your lives, just for this moment, are near each other. And you're having conversations, and you're talking about, oh man, school yesterday, the class yesterday, and the professor, he was so dumb. And then there's a concert, we're going to go do that. And your similar interests find this point of inflection. And then when you leave college, let's say you stay together, you decide to get married, all of a sudden now you're the person who wants to go for a hike, she wants to go for a boat ride. You have completely different expectations and worldviews.
Yeah.
So I think one of the challenges we're facing with family today is that you go back 100 years, you both grew up in an agrarian culture, you both grew up working on farms, you both expected your spouse to be like your parents or your neighbors.
Okay, 100 years ago was 1925, okay? We were mostly beginning globalization right then, okay? So like maybe you want to go back 200 years.
And so your wife is like, I want to tend to the kids and cook dinner and make food and take care of some animals while you go hunt, and then maybe you're a blacksmith or something. And the guy says, that's perfect. This is the great.
You're a blacksmith. In 1925, you're a blacksmith. What is this, fucking Peaky Blinders?
Greatest thing I've ever heard of. You get married and you have the exact same expectations, moral values, commitments, and views on oaths.
Mm-hmm. On oaths. There it is. There's that word again. Oaths. Oaths and vows, man. Okay, somebody needs to tell Tim Pool that we are in the, 24 and a half years into the 21st century right now. Oh, everything's been globalized, Tim, and it's been globalized for a very long time. And we have expectations that are dependent on that, on understanding that globalization. Okay. So I remember when Fresh once said, something like 30% of women are going on like yacht parties because they're getting invited by, I don't know, Drake to go out to Miami or some NBA player or some athlete, whatever, some rapper, right? And which is ludicrous, right? Like it doesn't happen. But what does happen is the perception that it could happen to that one. So now take this and exponentially grow it into a global sexual marketplace. So now not only can you be the young girl in Butte, Montana that meets the hot guy in the foam cannon party in Miami, like wherever, and now you have the ability to communicate. We have the mass communication that's going on right there. And I will tell you this right now, we need to get over this Pollyanna bullshit about we're all going to go back. We should all go back to living on ranches, and we should live like Yellowstone, right? Yeah. Like we should all go back to roping cattle and shit like that. And I will tell you this, right? The thing I watched this, and I think I'm done with this right now. I watched this, and I've got a guy. His name is Justice. He's a really good dude that's in my my Patreon group. By the way, join my Patreon group. I do a 2-hour session once a month. It's $200 to get me for 2 hours. It's a private thing. I think I've got 6 guys in it right now. I cap it usually at about 15. So if you want to get in, now's a good time. Anyways, so Justice is an interesting case, and he's part of a ranching family, and they raise top quality bulls, right? So he's a rancher of cattle, but he does basically inseminates the bulls and pulls the bulls out of their uteruses at 4 a.m, right? And there's a lot of work to be done on a bull ranch, but it's a high-end, high-paying, it's good money, very good money, but he can't leave the ranch because he's part of the family ranch. So that's why he's part of my group, because he wants to find a girlfriend. He wants to find a wife eventually. And I love it when I hear these women go, "Oh, I would love to join. I'd like to be on a ranch. I want to get away from this OnlyFans shit." And you wouldn't last half a fucking hour on that ranch, because you'd have to get up at 4 a.m., reach inside a bull's hooter and pull the calf out. It seems like a good idea. Right? Oh, we're gonna have all these white babies, and we're gonna churn butter, and we're gonna wear doilies on our heads and go to some, I don't know, Amish church or some shit like that. No, you're not. It's lots of fucking hard work, and it's cold, and it's snows, and it's tough. It's a tough fucking life. It's not like, this idyllic, agrarian, Americana dream come true. It's hard fucking work. And that's the thing is you want to know why a guy, and he's a good looking guy, and he could turn it out. The guy has everything a chick would want. He's got the money, he's got the looks, he's got the ranch, he's got this, this really great lifestyle. He just simply can't leave. He can't get to Vegas and find some chick. And even if he did, he'd bring him back and they'd run screaming after the first day because they would realize what is required of them. So ladies, If you're one of these chicks who say, I would love to live like they do on Yellowstone. No, you wouldn't. You wouldn't last half an hour. You'd be crying to go home. God, I hate that.
It's like the girl from 1920.
Yeah, 1923. She's like,
Wife.
yeah, she's gonna go. She's leaving because she can't hack it. Well, I mean, she did get bit by a wolf.
Yeah.
So, or what are we gonna do? And back then, did you see where they had to like shoot the? Spoiler alert! They had to like shoot the syringe full of anti-rabies shit into the stomach, and they had to do it like 12 days in a row. Fuck. That's what they had to do back then. Oh my god. Yeah. Well, anyways, I just want to point these things out because I think the idea of just to put a period at the end of this sentence here, we're not going back to 1925. We're not going back to 1823. Whatever. We're not going back to those times. We're, like I said, we don't do dating like they did in Happy Days. We don't do sock hops and homecoming dance and shit like that. We don't do that shit anymore. Shit, half the chicks in high school right now, if you're a senior in high school right now, odds are that the hottest chicks that in high school, by the time they're 20, they'll already have their OnlyFans. They'll already be up and making more money than most of the guys at your high school. The hottest guys and hottest girls, the girls are going to be on OnlyFans. They're going to be making money hand over fist, and guys are going to be on the back foot from the word go. So when people say, well, what about, guys need to measure up, guys, how do guys measure up to that? How does a young guy, 18, you got a girl who's 18, you got a guy who's 18. They graduate high school. She goes to do OnlyFans. Maybe he goes to college. He spend the next 4 years in college. She spends the next 4 years on OnlyFans. And I'm not saying she's going to be a multi-millionaire, but odds are if she's hot enough and she does what she does, she's going to make more money than he does. Right? It doesn't matter. You're already on the back foot. So all this bullshit, this post-agrarian, pre-agrarian, whatever, all this bullshit right now, man, it's a pleasant fiction. That's all it is. What are you going to do about it? We will not solve 21st century problems with 20th century solutions, Tim or Spencer or whoever the hell is it. You're not going to solve these problems by going back. Well, there's wisdom in the Bible. We better read the Bible. Okay, good. Please do. There is. You're correct. But we need real world now solutions. We need to figure out what we're going to do with marriage. We need to figure out how do we meet? How are we going to, sometimes in some cases, it's going to be untenable. In some cases, you're just simply going to have to say, well, that's just the way it fucking is. Right? Like most guys who they would probably love to be able to say, well, I chose this woman and I vetted her and we went to marriage counseling. We did all this. We did everything the right way. I'm sure they would love to say that, but most people aren't going to meet that way. And they might still have great marriages. Like, for instance, as I keep saying, I hate to use myself as an example, but I will in this case. I met my wife at a club. That's not where you're supposed to meet quality women roll up. Well, where am I supposed to meet them? A Bible study, a church camp, like Steven Crowder. I can use Steven Crowder as an anti-example and use myself as a pro-example. I'm still in a very good, strong, loving, fun, I have to say, fun marriage. I love hanging out with my wife. My wife is fun to be with, right? But I will tell you that's no guarantee. Well, you guys didn't do. Trust me. According to like these guys, and according to Crowder and the rest of these, I did everything the wrong way. I'm not supposed to succeed at this. Are you kidding? I didn't sit down and say, well, me and my wife are of the same religion. We still go to the same churches. We still have the same beliefs. Yeah, so we do align that way, sure. But that's not how we met. I saw my wife. The girl who would be my girlfriend and then my wife, and I go, man, I want to tap that ass. I wasn't like, she'll make a great wife, and I wonder if she'll be a good mother to my kids. That wasn't even a fucking fart in the wind, dude. That was never even an afterthought for me. But it worked out. Shit, I didn't want to get married. Are you kidding? Right after I got out of that BPD relationship, that was the last thing I was thinking. Can a real alpha get any wrong woman to submit? A wrong woman to submit. Okay, stop using the term submit. Use the term defer to your authority. How's that? Submit. Stop it. No. Submit to what? What do you know? It's funny. What if I told you, yeah, you're right. You can. You can make her submit. Once you got her to submit, what do you do? What do you do when she submits? Like, okay, bitch, let me get my dick out here. You know, like, what do you do when she submits? What does that look like? Does she get on her knees and go, thank you? Would you like a sandwich, master? Like, what does fucking submit look like? I've said this a million times. I don't want my wife to submit. I want her to defer to my authority, which she does. But I want her to be able to say what she needs to say. Like sometimes, like if she's saying like, hey, we need to do this, or we have this scheduled for this time, we're going to do, like, she's very good at logistics. Shit, she fucking schedules my flights and everything. She's like my best PA I've ever had, man. I don't want her to submit, but I do want her to defer to my authority. So if I say, hey, I'm going to Babes in Toyland, or I'm going to Bunny Ball. Okay, when do you want to go? What's the flight? You know, that's the end of the conversation. There's no right woman and there's no wrong woman. There is just the woman, and how you, like I've said this before, is like you don't find a good relationship. You just don't drop into your lap. You create a good relationship. You have to develop that good relationship. It takes effort. No relationship is turnkey. Whether you're male or female, there's no such thing as a turnkey relationship. Can you take what's a wrong woman? What's a right woman? Because I'll tell you right now, there's a lot of women who say that they're right one. I don't want anything to do with the right one. Show me the wrong one. Sometimes they might be you might be able to work with that. Right? I don't know. Stop thinking in terms of right and wrong in those cases. Got a guitar upgrade recently, and as I get better, I just wonder if there's such a thing as guitarist game. You've discovered the secret. Here's the secret side quest for the red pill. If you're not a master yet, is it the song selection or just have to be in a band? You just have to carry a guitar case.
Guitar case, college campus.
Pretty much, yeah. They've done studies on that, like where they find if they get to take the same guy, and if he's carrying a guitar case, there doesn't have to be anything in the case. If he's carrying a guitar case, women will find him like 60% more attractive or some shit like that. Musical ability, creative intelligence is a selected for attribute, and well, certainly in men for sure. It helps if you actually know how to play it and you're actually genuinely in a band, if you can authentically do those things for sure. Yeah. And there is such a thing as guitar game. But drummer game trumps guitar game. Just ask Jake Cope. Thoughts on the new Predator Badlands movie trailer? Easter eggs show that there may be a new AVP in the future. I hope so. You know what I want them to do? For AVP, I saw the Predator Badlands thing. Yeah. It looks good. If it wasn't for Mike Sartain, I probably would never have watched Prey. Prey was fucking good. I don't care what you guys say. That was a badass movie. It was a good movie. It had a little girl as the protagonist. Doesn't matter. I mean, her brother was in the movie too. Yeah. So like you could say they were both. But good movie, well done, and had an Easter egg at the end. Remember the gun that had this insignia on it? That's the one they gave him in Predator 2. Yep. Yeah, I was like, this is they know their shit, man. And the reason I watched it is because the guy who played the Predator, the guy who's like 6'7" or some shit like that, the tall dude, Mike knows him. He lives in Vegas. I've met him before. The guy who was the actor who played the Predator in Prey. Oh shit. Yeah, he's a cool dude. Young too. He's probably in his late 20s or early 30s. I'm a fan of Predator. I'll watch it for sure. I'm hoping they'll do it right. I think that if they ever, like, my hope is this, and I don't know it'll never happen, but there is a Dark Horse Comics version series of Aliens versus Predator, and it is probably the most perfect story you could ever want to put into a movie form. And it's the very first one. There's been multiple ones. First one that Dark Horse Comics did was Alien versus Predator, and it was about the Predators would seed planets with the alien
xenomorph eggs, and then they would go hunt the xenomorphs on those planets. Well, they made a mistake and they put one on a planet that was colonized or being colonized by humans, right? And so then you got one lone. There's a predator group. They all get wiped out except for one. And then there's the human colonists who are like, they're basically herders. They're like ranchers, right? And how they sort of have to get off the planet, like to escape the planet because it's overrun with aliens and stuff like that. Fan-fucking-tastic plot, great story. It's already done. I have no earthly idea why they haven't, like 20th Century Fox hasn't just bought that and used it. It's already done. It's ready to go. If they do AVP, they should do that first story. It's so good. Yeah, and then somebody also showed me did you see that they also had, like, they showed the skulls in the the trophy room in the thing, and one of them was the skull from Independence Day.
Yeah, one of the aliens, which is just fucking sick.
I'm like, what else could a creature from the Black Lagoon?
Well, I've always thought because of what is it called, Predators 2, how they show the little wall thing of all the skulls and everything. I always thought that one of them was called like the Basilisk from StarCraft.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Or the Ultralisk. Yeah. It's like the one big one.
Yeah. That's a possibility.
I don't know. That'd be cool to fucking see.
Yeah. Let me see. Soralita, did you saw PBD telling Adam Sosnick that he is a victim for saying there are a lot of hoes in Miami? That was 2 to 3 weeks ago. No, I didn't. I wish I could keep up with them. I'm gonna when I go to Miami, I'm gonna see if I can me and Mike can hook up with Adam Sosnick while we're there. But no, I haven't seen that. I have kind of don't have much interest in valuetainment unless Adam is doing his show and he's not doing it anymore. So, Adam, come on this show. You could be a co-host. For an LTR with a post-wall woman, how do you contemplate genuine desire versus her wanting children? You've got to, so the desire has to come before the children part. Okay. So, well, the way that, like, how do you determine that? You contemplate genuine desire versus wanting children. Well, technically that's part of it. There's a difference between a woman who says, I want to have kids versus I want to have his kids. Like, it's the, what's his name? Not Marisol Vino. I forget the name, the chick's name, but actress girl. Can't remember her name. She was saying that she didn't want to have kids until she met what's his name? Ryan Gosling. Ryan Gosling and whatever his wife's name is. I can't remember. Is it Mira Sorvino? I don't know. I don't think it might be her. Out. Anyways, she was saying, like, I never wanted to have kids until I met Ryan and I wanted to have his kids. That's genuine desire. When she says, I want to have, Eva Mendes, you're right. Mendes, sorry. Yeah. Eva Mendes. I want to have his babies. That's the difference. That's how you can sort of tell, but like, as far as like regular 9-to-5ers, yeah, I mean, I get it. A woman, it's easier for a woman to sort of have baby rabies and really want to fuck you. And then when she has the kids and she gets what she wants, then she's no longer into you anymore. That's something you have to establish prior to having children. So the way I would go about doing that is I would make sure that, well, first of all, if you're with that person, I don't think people should have children unless they're married. End of story. That's just me. But let's just say, for sake of argument, you do that. I don't think you should be with that person. I think you should establish that genuine desire long before any discussion of children come up. So also you need to, Ryan Gosling, you need to be in control of the birth control. If you are worried about that, you need to be wearing a condom, or you need to find some way to control for the birth. But as far as the genuine desire is concerned, I want a woman to, like, break the rules for me. I want a woman who will say, you know what, I will fly across the country. I will change my religion for you. So it's really kind of determining. Again, I would give it time, first of all. And then say, no, we're not having kids, or have a vasectomy. Yeah, there you go. Do you want to have kids? Then that might make things a little different.
Anyways, okay, we're done. Geez, we're at 3:23. I didn't even look. Anything else? Don't forget, coming up on Saturday, I will be doing the Zoom call, which is, where did it go? Where is it? Let's share the screen. Here it is. You too can come to my seminar. It's only 2 hours. I don't like to do classroom like settings. I don't want to keep people around who don't want to be around. You know, I don't like sitting around in hot seats or fucking, what is it? Masterminds. I don't want to sit around. I hate classroom shit. So like, just know that if you're going to sign up for this and you're going to register for this, I'm going to give you some real shit. I'm going to talk to you about mental point of origin, frame control. We're going to talk about sedation as well. These are all topics that I've just recently gotten into on Substack. They are also featured heavily in the upcoming book. So I'll be talking about the book as well. It is free. And then I'm not going to lie to you. We are going to tell you about Reignite and, you know, the community and everything else that we have going. Also, we do lots of fun shit. We're going to be doing we're doing a style consultation. We're also doing a deep sea fishing trip in Miami. We're doing the white party in Miami. That's a whole separate thing that we got going on. The price for that is $9.97. You don't have to be a member of Reignite to take part in that. I think I have one slot left on the boat, unless Morgan decides she wants to come on. Other than that, we will be going to the Miami White Party, which is the Babes in Toyland premier event from Miami. You guys will love every minute of it. And then on the 16th, I've already locked this in with Jim Kilgore and my friend Christian at Jackson Maximus, which is in Miami. It's right in the Brickell area. We're going to be doing style consultations and stuff like that at Jackson Maximus, which is sort of a haberdashery. That's a place where you can go and you can get a shave, you can get a haircut, you get custom tailored suits, everything shoes, everything you need as a dude is right there. And it's awesome. It's also a hangout. You can play pool there. There is I believe there's a bar as well. And it's just just an awesome place. So if you guys want to check that out, that will also be part of that trip. And of course, we're going to be doing some meetups and cigar smoking and some going out clubbing and stuff like that too. So if that's your groove, please check that out. We'll be doing that in Miami. That will be, I'll be there the 13th through the 19th, but the event is the 16th through the 8th. So, and then of course, we've got 100 spots open for the Zoom call, which we have here. Again, the time is actually 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. So you got 2 hours there, and you guys will learn a lot of stuff in this. And so, like I said, come check it out. Again, it's free. But like I said, we got to limit it to 100 people, but you can register now and go ahead and check it out. There you go. All right, I'm done. Do we have anything else? I think we have anything else to announce. Access Vegas will be going on this Wednesday. We've switched to Wednesdays on Access Vegas because it seems to be working out a lot better. I don't know who our special guest is yet, but we'll find somebody. Maybe Kyle. Kyle should come on. How would your girl feel about that?
So you guys can't find me, just know where.
Yeah. All right, guys. Thank you guys for watching, and I will see you guys next week. Bye.
All right. I need to feel you on top of me. It was my first time, but I was just a kid when we met and went to bed. It was my first time. What you expect from me? I'm telling these bitches to go to hell. I've got some new tools. Please do the same. Time came by and went over like a matchbox stereo. Time to get my thoughts now, let it go. Bound to keep me up all night.
prefer a good cigar and a bad woman.
Now we're fucking in the bathroom, tearing up every wall while I got your hair. Why you screaming my name?
That's nasty. It is nasty, right? Isn't it nasty? Ugh.
She was swinging in the bedroom, whole time stopping and stopping with her head like she's calling you Kelly. Well, I'm a whore. Run me up and down like a pony, turning up my song, getting nasty, working up and down on your body. Run me up and down like a pony, turning up my song on your body. Baby, we'll get down to it all night. But maybe we can fuck again, and maybe things are different. Goddamn, baby. Won't you put it on me one more again? 'Cause I need to know. And maybe we can fuck again, then maybe things are different. Goddamn, baby, one more again.
The Sitting Podcast has been a production of the Rational Male. All rights reserved. 2025. Registered trademark and don't steal Ned stuff.
Hello there, children.
Bye, Felicia.
Stop the cap.
God wants you to